Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast. Tonight, we're going to start it off with an amazing interview with our guy, Jake. He's going to go over some of the best draft prospects. He's a college football guy, so we know he is very knowledgeable. Then we're going to get into some of the uniforms for Denver, as well as Zach Wilson being traded to the Denver Broncos. And then, of course, we're going to go into the only football podcast final and correct mock draft before Thursday's episode. And, of course, we're going to end it off with the Chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
For the moment in time, I don't give a damn.
Oh
my God.
No.
You love this.
30 to 27.
No.
Chiefs win. Chiefs
No.
win 30 to 20. Woo!
I'm just kidding. I'm muted. What's up, fam? Welcome to the Only Football Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Broncos fan, but especially on today's day. Nick, we're going to talk about it later. I'm telling you right now, I really wanted to get right into those uniforms and the Zach Wilson and how this affects the draft. And I'm glad that we're going to start on a much lighter note. We do this every year. We bring in college football expert Jake, and we're going to do it right now. He's on standby. Jake, why don't you come on in here?
Here we go. What's up, Jake?
Give it up for Jake, everybody. Let me get those fireworks going off. No, that's not it. Jake, how are you?
Oh, might have a little issue there. Can't really hear him.
Your mic. Can't hear. While he figures that out, you guys might remember Jake from last year because we brought him in. I believe we brought him in pre-draft, and then we also brought him in after the draft to ask him, well, you know what? This is the future. Watch this.
This is the future. We're going to give him a call?
Let's see if that turns his video off, though.
I don't know. It does. Oh, Kyle, what'd you do?
Oh, you can't hear us. No. Oh, okay.
That's weird.
It's weird. Nobody else has said that they can't hear us. Let me check the YouTube channel. We've never not been. That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do it on the phone then. Let's just flex. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have college football expert Jake in the house, and he did this with us last year. And this one's not going to be as long. I think we had you on for like 3 hours last year, but we are gonna. And I'll always say this: like, if you're talking to a fan of a team, nobody knows your players and your team like you know. And when it comes to passion for the love of college football, like I don't know anybody that's as passionate about college football as you are. So when you give me your opinion, it matters to me. And you've been right about a lot of stuff. So specifically, we're going to talk about the ACC type of players, players that are coming in that maybe aren't getting the kind of credit that is due. Maybe day 2, day 3 guys that are going to end up maybe being a Pro Bowler. We're going to talk about your favorite players coming out of Florida State, because I know there's 2 players that you think should be going in the first or second round. A lot of mock drafts actually back up what you're saying there. And then we're going to just talk about your favorite player straight up, who you're most excited about seeing playing on Sundays next year. So in no particular order, welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's start with favorite players. Who are you most excited to see play?
So let's just go down the order. If we're gonna go down this way, this is big name guys. First guy that really pops off that I want to see translate to the next level is Jerzan Newton, big fella out of Illinois.
Yeah.
One of the only Big Ten defensive players of the year to ever come out of that school. Insanely productive from the tackle position. He is athletic enough that you could flex him out to be inside for a 3 tech and also be a strong side defensive end and hold the point of attack and the edge and also still apply that pass rush. And great to move inside on a long third down where you know they're passing. Really, really like Jerzan Newton a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, and he's been, I think, working his way up the draft board on a lot of mock drafts.
Mm-hmm.
I think the latest one, he was definitely going, I think, towards the end of the first round, if I'm not mistaken, and for good reason. I saw a whole breakdown. I think it was Sims that did it, and this dude is just a total monster.
I saw he's going 21st overall to the Texans via a trade with the Dolphins.
Okay, so
per PFF,
Rick saying that he saw him going early as 21 to the Texans. Do you think if he was drafted above 20, would that be a reach, or is this a case of you can never draft your guy too high and he should be somebody's guy in the first round?
Exactly. If you are in the need and you want a stalwart and you're looking to do what the Eagles are doing and dominate from the inside out, and you're out, there's not a better guy in this draft in my draft class, in my opinion, than Newton. I don't think we're stretching all the way up to the 6th pick in the draft. You know, I mean, top 5, you could probably trade down a little bit, but that's getting into the weeds and not something I really want to talk about. But just as far as value, yeah. Someone plugs him at 7. I'm not even wondering why. It makes a lot of sense to me. He's first year starter for a lot of teams, and you're going to get a stud. I mean, to be the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten for Illinois, it's that alone, where week in and week out, you know you're getting double teamed because there's nobody else on that line that's requiring attention, and you're going against NFL ready-made players from name all the schools where all the linemen come from in the NFL. Your Michigans, your Ohio States, your Iowas. So just being able to be that productive in that atmosphere just speaks volumes. And the consistency of it. He played as a freshman and been playing his whole career. Really solid as far as injury. If I had to plug one guy as my stud of the draft, it would probably be good old Newton, good old Jerzan Newton. I really like the little evaluation. Nice. He's a stud.
Yeah, and with the way this draft's going to go, potentially go Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, maybe JJ McCarthy. You're talking about that 7 position right now on most mock drafts going to Dallas Turner, who is the best edge rusher in the draft, most people agree on. So if you're saying the best edge is going to drop maybe to 10 or lower, what that means is somebody could potentially get this guy not on Thursday night, but Friday morning. And that's really what I'm thinking would be a steal, is a team like, let's say, the Bears, who are drafting with the number 1 pick, and then they have the 9 pick. If they could score a guy like that on the next day of the draft, that's ridiculous.
Huge.
Yeah.
And the thing about him is he's only 21, so you're getting a younger prospect. He's not even fully developed yet. And I'm gonna die on this hill. A prospect out of Florida is just different sometimes. Petersburg, Florida. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about the guy. Not the biggest guy you're gonna see. I think he is 300 if he's soaking wet, 6'2", but again, just so productive. You can move him outside if you need to as a big 3 tech, and just good stuff.
All right. Well, I was gonna try to stick exactly to the script, but since you're my friend and we talk a lot about college football, I'm gonna bring up something that I think is gonna get a reaction out of the people watching this. Okay. Now there are certain people that think that JJ McCarthy might get drafted as high as 4. In some mock drafts, if you say that the Cardinals and the Chargers aren't going to make any trades, then JJ McCarthy probably going to 6 to the Giants is about as low as people are seeing that he could go. Now, I know taking out the Florida State, Michigan game that should have been, and just talking about JJ McCarthy really quick, people are saying that he processes information really fast, that he is going to translate to the next level if the right coach gets his hands on him. He's moldable. A lot of he does have arm talent that is displayed on his pro day. But you're not so high on JJ McCarthy. Is this just a matter of every April there's a quarterback that doesn't belong getting drafted at 2, like Zach Wilson, and they get it wrong all the time, and they're getting this one wrong? Or is this like how Josh Allen climbed the draft boards and they were right about that?
I think this is another case of the quarterback position being such a big position of need, and people trying to see something they want to see that's not entirely there. I'm not in love with this quarterback class as a whole. I don't think Penix is going to translate. I'm not in love with the class. I think that you have a big project with the Heisman winner. We'll see what happens with Jaden Daniels. I think he has talent, but again, it's a project. But going back to the question, JJ McCarthy, I think is a poor man's Jared Goff.
Oh wow!
I think there's way too many situations of seeing him being pampered by defense and living in a Big Ten environment where you can win games and it doesn't look funky to put up 13 points going into the fourth quarter and you're doing your job.
That's true.
The numbers are going to look okay, but I think everyone is getting way too invested in the fact that he likes to do yoga in front of the goalposts as opposed to looking at his actual production and how he plays the game of football. He's not a leader.
What do you have against yoga? Do you just to get rid of personal biases? Do you do yoga?
I have nothing against yoga.
Okay. I just had to throw that out there. I actually do appreciate a quarterback that can do yoga, because it's actually translates to a lot of things: mindful meditation, being able to silence the voices, being able to have a stillness and a peace about you. Like, these are all things that I think I'm surprised more quarterbacks aren't open about doing yoga, like receivers are open about doing ballet to work on balance and things of that
running
nature.
Backs too. Yeah,
running backs as well. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go on.
Jake's like, what the fuck?
He has a longer release. He can read the field fine. There is nothing to him that would make me want to pass up guys that could be difference makers at multiple positions, just because of the idea that it could happen. Maybe, everyone else is doing it. Let's take a chance. I've always kind of been bewildered with how people are so quick to do that with the quarterback position because they need it to work.
True.
Go and get yourself a Gardner Minshew. I don't understand the logic. I think he's and graciously overrated. I think a couple of the quarterbacks in this draft class are. We'll see where it shakes.
Drake May?
Drake May has all the tools, all the talent, and he's young. He's not overdeveloped. You can see he's still a sponge. A lot of stuff you can do with him. Drake May would probably be my favorite quarterback prospect. I think he's a lot of people's.
But everybody's agreed that it's Caleb Williams and then everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, then this isn't like new buzz. This has been a consensus
Like
for
2
the
years.
last 2 years.
Yeah.
So, like, how can you confidently just say that? I mean, you have to elaborate a little bit if you're going to say that's pretty bold at this point.
I can only speak on what I would do in that position. Interviews when a kid is really emotional is not 30 seconds is the best thing to go over.
Are you talking about Caleb Williams? By the way, we did not have a previous conversation, but there was a whole event that took place on our last week's episode. But with that said, I still think it's a reach to say that if you were drafting at number 1 overall, you would draft anybody not named Caleb Williams is kind of crazy to me.
I wouldn't draft any quarterback number 1 overall. I'm not a big
Wow.
fan of overall. I think there's a lot of teams that love the idea for jersey sales and the idea of being a master picker. Go ahead and give me all your money for that pick, and I'll be happy because I know what I can get talent-wise at 12.
Well, who would he pick at first? Who would you pick at first?
Well, it's also that now we're getting into draft needs and having a conversation about if you are the Bears at 1, like you need a quarterback. You don't have one. If you're the Commanders at 2, you need a quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the number that they're being drafted, but the team that's at that number and their needs of in that moment. There's nothing more valuable than the Bears picking Caleb Williams at 1. He's the most valuable player in this draft for a team that needs a quarterback. So that means if you had, let's say, the Chargers drafting at 1, you had the Saints at 14, the Jags at 3, right? Then all of a sudden Caleb Williams doesn't need to go to those places that have franchise quarterbacks. But the way it generally works out is the teams that are drafting 1, 2, and 3 are the ones that didn't have a quarterback last year. That's why they suck so bad.
Everything you're saying is sticking. I get that. Let me ask you a question though. If it was not such a depleted roster, offense specifically, talking about the Chicago Bears, do you think we're having the same conversation and getting a guy that has the escapability of the Caleb Williams and the create a playability of a Caleb Williams? Or do you think the conversation shifts a little bit more to prototypical quote unquote quarterback out of a Drake May? And again, the kid is, I don't want to sound like every other guy that talks about a white quarterback where he's he's deceptively fast and he's got a little shake to him. he can move a little bit. But do you think that because that's my whole thing. Like, it's been that conversation so hardcore, but we haven't heard the nuances of it, of why it's that way. And it's just, is he just a black and white better quarterback, or is there those intricacies that make it different for different franchises? Because I think that could very much be a thing where, yeah, I can see myself taking a Drake May or taking a Caleb Williams over a Drake May. Because he needs to have some backyard quarterback to him, you know?
Yeah, totally. It's all about the system. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best receiver in this draft, but Malik Neighbors could still be drafted before him because you could argue he has more of a ceiling, and that he might not be as safe as Marvin Harrison Jr., but it's like, what kind of receiver do you want? And now we're talking about hey, this is a pick that you can't get wrong. In an ideal world, Caleb Williams is, and I'm not saying this, but in an ideal world, Caleb Williams is going to be Mahomes and Drake May is going to be Josh Allen, who's my NFL comp. Mm-hmm. If you're drafting a team, which one of those picks is wrong? Is Josh Allen, looking back on it, both teams get what they want. It's just, what do you want your quarterback to do? Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of what I'm getting at when you say, well, that's been the whole conversation. It's been Caleb Williams for Chicago. that doesn't mean I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. I mean, I could be wrong again, and that's the reason why I'm on here, because we all have our opinion. That's what makes football so great.
Yep.
But yeah, do I have to, me being a GM or an offensive coordinator or a head coach, do I have to look at my roster before I pick who I'm picking? Absolutely. But if everything's neutral, I would be hard pressed to tell you that I wouldn't lean towards Drake May as opposed to Caleb Williams.
And I like Jaden Daniels more than both of them. So
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. That is what makes it. That's what makes it fun. That's what makes fantasy football fun. That's what makes the banter fun, because we're all telling our truth, and all we can do is sit and wait for something to be revealed to us, and one of us to be proven right, and one to be wrong, and maybe you're okay in the area. But moving on from the quarterback thing, now that you've made it public how you feel kind of about JJ McCarthy, and that's really interesting. Actually, last quarterback thing, of course, there's teams like the Broncos and the Raiders and the Giants that are a little bit further down the board that need a quarterback. Like this next tier of guys after Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, your JJ McCarthy's, your Bo Nix, and your Penix Jr. I'm not sold on Penix. I know he had a good pro day, but I think that's all it was that he showcased he's a good athlete. I don't necessarily think that means he's going to be a great quarterback. And then Bo Nix, I have mixed feelings about. I could honestly get on board with it if it happened, but it's not something that I'm like excited about, like how the top 3 picks probably feel at this point. So do you rank those tier 2 quarterbacks in any particular order? I know that you have a tier 3 that you think should be higher, like Jordan Travis, Spencer Rattler, maybe. But just talking about these like fringe day 2 guys, what do you think about Bo Nix, Penix, and McCarthy, in what order particular?
I've had to detract with how I thought about Bo Nix. So it's like, am I getting overcorrective with it? Is something I have to think about, because I used to talk very disparagingly about Bo Nix, to be quite honest. At Auburn, it was atrocious. But with his revamp camp and how Kenny Dillingham kind of reset his tune, I can honestly see him filling in and doing kind of what Purdy is doing in the NFL, and not to that level, because he's got that moxie to him. But as far as being able to just get out of the pocket and make stuff happen, he has a little bit of that to him. But again, I'm not really high on any of them at that level. I don't see them being a productive quarterback. But if I had to rank them, Penix number 1, then McCarthy, and then Bo Nix.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, because that's not
Penix
the order.
I was gonna say Penix has a very accurate long ball.
Yeah, and Rick's saying right now Penix's long ball is extremely accurate, and that's been something that scouts have all kind of agreed on. But
it is very accurate. But you know what else it also is?
A lot of airtime.
It's a hang time issue.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too. It sits up there. Like great safeties are gonna track that and get under it.
Yeah, Pac-12 football and NFL football is a lot different.
Yeah, Pac-12 football hasn't translated, and this hasn't been like. Remember Matt Leinart?
Yeah, still Big Ten. I'm sorry, but still.
Yeah. But you're right. Like even Marcus Mariota, who was drafted number 2 overall. I mean, did he ever really pan out to what he was supposed to? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And would that be the most ideal case for Bo Nix? Or are we just doing that because they went to the same school? Just like we grouped CJ Stroud with Justin Fields. CJ Stroud was,
or how I, as a Bears fan, group what's his face, Drake May into Mitch Trubisky.
With Mitch Trubisky, because they go to the same school. So it's hard to undo these biases. They're really like to our core. Let's try to do that really quick with your favorite football team, the Florida State Seminoles. So like I said, nobody knows Florida State's players. I mean, you track them through high school. what players are coming into the league that you've had the opportunity to watch up close for the last couple of years that maybe they're being talked about? Of course, Jared Verse is arguably the best edge with Dallas Turner kind of swapping back and forth. But is there anybody else that jumps off the page that you're specifically excited about?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry to jump down your throat, but yeah, I do get excited. Just thinking about where that program was a couple of years ago, and then where we are now at this time of the year, and just thinking about the actual potential of guys getting on NFL rosters, and it's just night and day. We're talking about a difference of 2 and 10. So it's crazy.
It's a turnaround.
But Braden Fisk, in this new world of transfer portal and a kid that grew up just absolutely loving the idea of having the garage being stacked, and that really, really sturdy Honda Accord might have ran out its miles, but you knew that you had that new little G-Wagon that was ready to rock, and that changed a little bit. But with that being said, Braden Fisk has been such a bright spot for what FSU could have been without him. Just the difference he made. An incredible inside-out player. The motor is second to none. The agility and lateral movement for a guy that, because again, we're talking about a guy that's 6'5", 305. It reminds me a lot of Ndamukong Suh.
Wow, and, that's pretty good company.
Really violent with his hands.
Yeah.
Not really long as far as his wingspan. A little sawed off. Same thing with Ndamukong Suh. A little sawed off. But what you see is violent hips, extremely strong hands, and quick beyond belief at the point of attack. You're going to get a guy that isn't going to get 8 sacks a season, but he's going to get that guy to the left or the right of him over 10, and the quarterback pressures is going to be through the roof. I love Braden Fisk. Whoever gets him is getting a really high upside player. Locker room dude. Couldn't talk. I would let Braden Fisk babysit my children. Had him. Couldn't talk highly enough about the guy.
Love that.
You paid him to sit on babies? That's disgusting. I do it for nothing.
If we're gonna talk about Fisk, it's the elephant in the room, but Jared Verse. If you're gonna talk about a potential first-round defensive lineman for FSU, you better consider that to be a pretty solid find. If you're looking at the last couple of years as far as a trend, we're putting some dudes in the NFL at the defensive end position, and
here we go.
It's all due to Odell Haggins, and again, that goes back to Braden Fisk and what he was able to untap with Odell. One of the longest tenured defensive line coaches in the country. He is FSU football. Kids, just look at all the defensive linemen that have been pushed into the league through FSU in the past 2 decades. It's second to none. But Jared Verse is going to be another one of those guys. Extremely strong, given his athletic profile. For a guy to be able to run a 4.5 40 and look at his tape and see a man that is going to get drafted as well, get pushed into his own quarterback for a sack in a way where he didn't have a choice in the matter, and where you can see, that's where on skates came from. I get that now. That makes sense to me now. That's Jared Verse. It's a crazy combo of speed and size and strength, and I don't know. I played in my head a lot with Jermaine Johnson and Jared Verse. Jermaine Johnson, Jared Verse. Who do I like more? I have to pick and choose. but it kind of just depends on what you want. If I was going for a mindset guy, Jermaine Johnson, quiet, doesn't say a thing. Jared Verse is going to talk to you every single play. But as far as just intangibles, we got a stud out of Jared Verse, and I think we'll all be surprised if he doesn't go at least top 20.
Yeah, falling that far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe so. And then my last guy, again, we're kind of going off rails, but value pick, favorite pick, it falls to the same line with it. Renardo Green. I think we all kind of got assimilated with Asante Samuel in the divisional game.
Yeah. Against the Jags, he had 3 interceptions in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're getting a little bit bigger Asante Samuel Jr. Maybe not as twitchy and straight line speed fast, but if you look at how they play the ball and how they are on a dude's hip and how they will come up when the ball is being processed through the hands, you will see the exact same play type. They are going to get all up in your face, and as soon as the play's over, they're going to look at you like they speak Braille. You know, they don't speak any English. The guys are going to be in their face, yelling, clapping at them. They're just going to look at them like they're looking at a wall. They're trying to get those penalties. They're trying to get in their head. He's a dog. Look at this. Everyone likes Asante Samuel Jr., which I can't imagine you wouldn't. Just a gnat, just a gnat, always in the ear, literally making someone want to get a therapist session. There you go. That's Renardo Green.
He's got it. Does he got like a lot of Jalen Ramsey kind of chatter to him?
It's less chatter. It's more body.
Oh, he's just really physical. Are you worried about the penalties?
That is going to be something that it depends everywhere and where he goes. That's a defensive back thing. It's the code. It's what are we allowing? And again, if you're a defensive back coach, you want that. You want to hammer it down instead of having to teach that. It's like, hey, we like the idea of it, but do this. You don't have to teach someone a mentality. You know, there's a difference of reeling something back and teaching mentality. One's a lot easier than the other.
Right.
So he has all of that. And again, it's less I'm here, and he's going to show you I'm here by literally walking over you when you're on the ground and putting his nuts on your forehead.
I guess that's why they call him intangibles. Because you either got him or you don't. Renardo Green right now projected to go sometime in the second round. But Jake's saying that's going to be a day one starter on one of the sides. So is there any like he can do it all, press, man, nickel? Like, does he excel in?
If you want to get him on the field fast, I think he would be really great at the nickel spot. Just again because he plays hip so well, and that's a lot of nickel. Again, it's you higher skill set guys go on the outside, but what people don't realize is to play the nickel, you have to consider those insides, and it's a lot more ground that you have to. If you're playing 1 or 2, a guy can't do an out route on you. Everything is inside or up. When you're a dime corner, that out route is very much alive, and you get that. He might run outside. It's not. He's going to come through my face or go inside. There's a lot more options. You have to be fluid and very quick on the dot, and that's just something he has. Straight line speed, he's not impressive. I think he ran a 4.56. I think was his best time. Don't quote me on that, but that's not where he's going to show. Like, it's going to be his off the ball quickness and his lateral movement.
4.54. But he did run on his second attempt a 4.50.
Well, there you go. Okay, that's good. You, Nardo, that a boy. Just get that 4.49. That would have been amazing. But anyway, yeah, just his ability to not let a guy cross his face will really implement well at the dime position.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you know this, but every player that you like was born in Orlando, so I don't know what that means. Obviously, Orlando is the murder capital of Florida, so some
Disney kid.
post coming out of Orlando.
Disney kid.
Yeah, I mean, Renardo Green was birthed in Orlando, and the player that you had before here, I'm blanking on his name right now, the defensive lineman was from Orlando as well. And you opened up with like talking about how you love homegrown Florida.
They're different.
And then all three of them are from Florida. I love that. Well, to put a bow on this whole thing, and of course the draft is coming up on Thursday, so we'll probably and hopefully have you down for us. But what player, of course, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, all that. So there's always a player that you know is really good, but you're reluctant to admit it because, like for the Bears, it might be Aaron Rodgers. For me, it could be Mahomes. For you, what players coming out of maybe Clemson or NC State or maybe Boston College or Miami even that you absolutely can't stand, but you know they're going to be everything that you wanted and more at the next level? Because I think
I'm gonna be honest. Florida and Miami don't have much coming out, and that's the only ones where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to see you guys have anything.
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, when he came out, you were like, I hope he. I won't even say it.
Don't spit on my logo, and we won't have problems.
He spit on the logo. That was the whole thing. Okay, well, moving all that aside.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Clemson, they have a really, really
Nate Wiggins.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins,
cornerback.
Sorry,
polished.
A very polished corner out of Nate Wiggins. Fun story about that is his uncle is Antonio Cromartie. He has bloodline. He's been around professional athletics his whole life. A pro's pro. Kid that was known in high school for helping out his teammates that were kind of getting into the wrong situation, and just a pro's pro from like a really young age. A kid that I think is going to be in the NFL for a really long time. Needs to bulk up a tiny bit. A little lanky, a little wiry. Still come up and will make some plays, but I think that's just a name that needs to be known. Playing defensive back, growing up, it's something that I really like to look at as far as hips and tangibles and everything that goes into it, and length. Something I did not have is something that I really admire. Especially when it looks smooth and kept in, and it doesn't look lanky, and you actually are able to utilize that length, and it's really sharp and compact. Nate Wiggins seems to have that, so looking out for him to do pretty well, pretty quick in the NFL. And other than that, I don't have much as far as like the big rival schools. There is Peyton Wilson out of NC State, a linebacker. Size and production is everything you could want. Again, NC State, one of the most underrated strength and conditioning programs in the country.
Oh, wow.
When it comes to D1 football, if you are into that type of thing, one of the most underrated strength and conditioning programs in the country. Just if you look at the guys and that they bring in and the production level and where they end up at the end of it, it's impressive. Peyton Wilson, 6'4", 30-something, injuries. That's what's going to hold him back. Other than that, again, it's going to be hard to be a first-round pick as a linebacker nowadays, unless you're running a 4.4 and you look like a ball of muscle. But Peyton Wilson just one of the most productive players that I've seen as a linebacker in the past decade out of the ACC. The past decade. Incredibly instinctual. Loves to go downhill. I saw him yoke up running back after running back, playing with a dislocated left shoulder against FSU. Tenacity and want to is not going to be lacking from Peyton Wilson, if that's what you're wondering. But I could see him being, if he can get into a good medical staff and get right, I think he's going to be a really, really good NFL player. Really good NFL player. And then just to wrap it up on ACC, no ill will. Obviously, I'm talking about Christian Mahogany and Graham Barton. Mahogany out of Boston College, interior lineman. This is what got me for him. Started at center as a true freshman. And then as a sophomore, junior, and senior, tackle. So as far as a plug and play player,
that's not normal.
That's not normal.
PFF as a 74 in run blocking and an 82, I believe, in pass blocking, which is really high numbers. So I think he'll be a stud. Look for him to end up in a New England Patriots jersey or something like that, where they get those guys. And then Graham Barton played center and started at center for 3 years at Duke. Super productive. Yeah, I don't have much on him. I'm not the best at grading out linemen, but just looking at him, remembering how stout he was in game action, and then looking at the skill set, what everyone else is thinking as far as where he's going, that makes sense to me.
Well, yeah, dude, thank you for coming on and doing the all this. And I will say about the player that you were talking about, Peyton Willis, who you mentioned his injuries. You know what this all reminds me of? Right now on PFF's big board, he's at number 30. And there was another player that dealt with injuries in college that has won Defensive Player of the Year. I think should have won it multiple times. And he was drafted at 30, and that's TJ Watt. TJ Watt missed time, and he fell down the draft board because of that injury concern. Peyton Willis may be the next TJ Watt type of talent to come in, drafted at the very end of the first round. What do you think about that?
I think that was a hell of a grab for you to recognize on the fly. I wouldn't say he's at that.
Well, nobody said that about TJ Watt. That's the whole point.
Yeah, I get the question. I think that it's harder in this game of football to make a name for yourself at linebacker the way it is at defensive end. And I know TJ plays on and off, but he'll be a stand-up defensive end a good amount. And that's where you're getting TJ's. That's where he becomes who he is with those sacks. Mm-hmm. I do not think that that's who Peyton Wilson is. He can get after the quarterback, but he's a guy that you just want to flush out the tight ends and get your running backs, and that's what he's going to do amazingly. Like get him in the AFC, the AFC North and stuff, and let him rock.
Well, they are both 6'4". No, I'm kidding. Just keep trying to group them together. No, TJ Watt's 251, and
he really wants this to work.
Peyton Willis is only 238, so he'd have to gain about 12 pounds to even be in his weight class. But yeah, man, super pumped. We're gonna keep this episode going, but thanks for coming on, and then hopefully we'll be able to have you on after the draft, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you're open to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to do one more thing just to get my credit in here. Terrion Arnold will be the best DB in the class. Odunze is the best receiver in the class.
Oh,
not Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wow.
And Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. You're going to hear so many things about Joe Alt as far as like why we talked about this guy more a couple years ago. But yeah, remember those names: Terran Arnold, Adunze. You guys, come on, just look at the film.
Yeah,
Joe Alt.
I had Denver drafting Terrion Arnold opposite of Surtain.
Oh my gosh,
I know.
My God.
Lockdown.
The Denver Crimson Tide coming your way. All right.
Yeah, that shut down city right there. But no, thank you for having me on. Everybody is listening. Thank you for supporting my brother. Thank you for being a part of his journey. It's awesome to be a part of it and to watch him grow. So I really appreciate all these grassroots followers because this is how big things happen.
Yeah,
so I'm
definitely
excited to be a part of it and to help this become one of the more grassrooted, more client-based podcasts out there.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate that. Love you, brother.
Yeah, man. Have some fun with it tonight.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Later on.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
a lot of good info from Jake, man. He was going into the details there, and that's something that is just great information to kind of go off of. Going into the Florida State guys, he just at the end there naming his 3 best players or what he predicts to be his 3 most successful players out of this draft. Just great. So great job for Jake, and thanks for coming on, Jake.
Yeah, and sometimes he says things that it's like I knew all along, but until he said it, it's like NC State has one of the best strength and conditioning programs in the country. It's like, oh, that kind of makes sense when you look at the athletes that have come out of NC State. That is one thing that you always say about these NC State guys is like very athletic, very fast for their height and weight and stuff like that. So I don't know. I kind of like, cause I can put some pieces together that I'm like, oh, that made sense, but I didn't know why. Now I know NC State, one of the better strength and conditioning programs in the country. So I love that. Sorry that we had that audio issue in the very beginning with the video and the audio, but hopefully you guys were able to hear it all pretty well. Did you think it was pretty easy, Rick?
Like the audio stuff?
Yeah, because I couldn't tell because I'm on this side holding his audio.
I thought it was I actually pulled up our video and the audio wasn't bad. Like when you put it up to the mic, I think everybody heard it like fine and pretty clear and concise. So I don't think there was any issues there.
Awesome. All right.
I'm gonna highlight this because we're gonna get right into it, and this is a great segue. Rick's put more thought in his outfit than the Broncos did in our helmets. So Kyle, let's talk about it because these uniforms, man, these uniforms are rough. I was just taking a look at them, and literally the only good ones you guys have are your throwbacks.
All right. Before we start, I just need to say that there was one reason that okay, I won't make that joke. I was gonna make a joke about jumping off a ledge or something. I'm not going to. But they really saved their ass with this video that I'm going to show you. But obviously, what I'm wearing right now is symbolic to what I wish we would have done. Rick, check out this video I uploaded real quick.
Boy, too clean and running my jeans. All of my rules. Roll with my team. I've been on my P's. I've been on my Q's. You see me.
Sir, can I help you out?
I don't know. I'm kind of rocking with this. Maybe something to go with it? What you think?
Yeah. Well, I think I have something for you. You've been waiting for this.
They're giving us some football game in Denver tonight.
Perhaps the most enthusiastic fans in the NFL at Mile High Stadium.
Going long in the end zone, now and there.
All right. That was pretty sick.
All right.
That's
So
pretty
that
sick.
they released that, and I was just cheesing the whole time, man.
I was gonna say the shitty thing about that is that Surtain, it's gonna suck when Surtain gets traded on draft day when you guys move up to get a quarterback. That's gonna be the worst part.
All right.
Please,
First
go ahead,
First off, that's not going to happen. Don't even put that out there. Do you really think
fuck
that
your bitch and the click you claim?
you really think they would have been like, yeah, we're going to trade this guy. No, he's literally all we have right now to build around.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're using him from the video, and they've been pretty clear he's off limits. Now, if something were to happen, dude, I don't even know. I'd be like, I have nothing anymore. Nothing. It is so bad. Now, I said this.
Mm-hmm.
Broncos are going to find a way to fuck this up. Why did I know that? Because they've only fucked up in all of the decisions that they've made besides signing Sean Payton. Broncos Twitter, everybody understood exactly what we wanted. We wanted the throwbacks. It was very clear. We showed pictures of Justin Simmons. This was not hard and difficult, and yet what you'd say in the military, they nuked it. They overthought it. They wanted to put these details in it. Now, I don't know if you guys saw it, but initially when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, this is like just as bad as the leaks that were awful. I didn't have a smile on my face. There wasn't yay. And I said this earlier, but I'm a person that literally at the age of 6 years old picked my favorite team based on the way the uniforms looked. I picked them because I thought they had the coolest uniforms. And you might think that picking a team to be your favorite with that kind of method isn't going to stick. Well, you would be wrong because it did stick, not just for me, but for my friend who picked the Broncos that day as well. These uniforms were a big part. And I can honestly say, I don't know if we would have picked the Broncos with these uniforms that are coming out. No. So that is kind of like, I guess, maybe more personal to me than some other teams or fans take their uniforms. But, when you have a traditional team, you don't change your uniforms. Like, when have the Bears changed their uniforms?
Yeah, and the Bears really more or less add. They don't necessarily subtract from uniforms. And yeah, they got the orange ones and they got the one with the stripes on them, which look a little weird at first, but I kind of got used to them. But I just want to show this picture because these guys look like they are on a UFL team.
Yeah, they are. And do you want to see what the picture is?
Especially the one with the white helmet.
Yeah, here's the UFL team that you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, the Stallions or whatever, the UTSA.
What the hell are we doing? This looks like when you buy Madden and you haven't unlocked cool uniforms yet, and you have to ride with these for a year because you haven't earned the good uniforms. Yeah. This is how you feel when you look at this. And I'm going to just go through really quick. Let me see if I can just upload that picture while I discuss it.
While you're doing that real quick, there's a question on this picture under Adam Schefter's Instagram, and it goes, "What's 5280?"
Are you serious?
And somebody replied, "How many yards they gave up to the Dolphins?"
Wow. Wow. Was Adam Schefter serious? I highly doubt it. He started his career in Denver.
No. These were comments, like people commenting under the picture that he posted.
Oh,
it wasn't Schefter.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Schefter was like, what's 5'280"? I'm like, he knows what 5'280". He's trolling.
No, he'd lose his job.
And for those that maybe don't, 5'280" is simply the amount of feet Denver sits above sea level. And honestly, it's something that the tourists and people really embrace. But the day one, like the people that have been riding with it, it's very touristy. It's very like, yeah, we get it. 5'280". Like we love it. but just put it up on the board in the fourth quarter. They already have like a whole thing they do with it. Putting in the uniforms, personally, I didn't care. I'm just relating what some of the older Bronco fans thought about it. Of course, I'm in comparison to a 50-year fan. I'm a new Bronco fan, so I like the 5280. Now here is the uniforms. God damn. Sorry. I looked at them and absolutely hate them. It's not even like and they're like, don't worry, it'll grow on you. And yeah, that can happen. It happens when I hear a new song. It happens when I see a movie sometimes. Not a movie, bad example, but sometimes things can grow on you. I don't know if these ever will. So let me go through just some of my feedback. All right. The helmet. And yes, I this is a little bit, but I wanted to be thorough because we haven't had this moment in 29 years. So it's kind of a big deal. I'm glad they kept the horseshoe logo if they weren't going to fully transition to their throwbacks. Okay. But downsizing it was a mistake. Now it's too small. I'm not a huge fan of the satin navy finish. Always have preferred the dark colored helmets with a gloss finish. The helmet stripe is awful. It looks like a road sign. The gigantic numerals on the back look weird, or at least too large. The 5280 on the bumper is acceptable and the only place we should see it. All right, now the jerseys. They should have chosen a full collar or none at all. Don't understand the thin stripe because to me it looks awkward. I'm happy they kept the word mark at the correct size just under the collar and that it's in the color instead of white. I wish the number font matched the word mark or vice versa. Pick one font and stick to it. No TV shoulders. So TV shoulder numbers are just the numbers here.
Yeah.
Okay. So they don't have any of those. It's extremely weird. Surprisingly, I like the mountain triangles within the numbers more than I did when I saw the ones that were leaked, but not so much the ones under the sleeve. Now, this is the most important part, probably the sleeves. I was very worried here, and I think they're not as bad as I thought, but they should have put the opposite color underneath the jagged mountain stripe instead of above. I think it would be 100% upgrade, and it would have changed the entire dynamic of the jersey. So you see the color, I think basically they just needed to flip that. Now the pants.
For which jersey are you talking about? Just all of them?
Yeah, so you see like on the sleeves how they have the two colors kind of.
Yeah.
So I think if they would have swapped it, it would have looked a lot cleaner.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
Then for the pants, glad we have an option for all three colors now because we didn't before. Meaning that we can wear all three uniforms with the pants and it actually matches versus what Denver did with Nathaniel Hackett. That one game where they wore the blue jerseys with the white pants. God, that was awful. You probably already blocked it out of your memory, but I understand the idea to try to match the pants and to the stripes of the sleeves, but this came off as XFL-ish. There's no reason to have 5280 on them, especially when you won't be able to see it on the field. The uniform combos, not everyone works, but these would be acceptable in my opinion. The navy helmet, orange jersey, white pants, navy helmet, navy jersey, white or blue pants, navy helmet, white jersey, white or blue pants, white helmet, orange jersey, white pants, or white helmet, white jersey with orange pants or white pants. The throwbacks, as most of you know, I'm a huge throwback guy, and the older generation also wanted them. So this should keep people somewhat happy. I would have preferred the 1996 throwback where all the stripes matched instead of the 1977 version where they didn't. But my overall grade is a 4 out of 10. There's potential with this uniform set, but unfortunately, there are too many missteps that prevented it from reaching its potential. In my humble opinion, this is an absolute downgrade from our previous uniform set. And this sucks, man. I mean, there's no way to say it. And let's put that away so we don't have to see that anymore. There's absolutely no easy way to say it. I guess the only way to make this not suck as bad as it does is to find out 1 minute before these uniforms that Zach Wilson is your quarterback. They say that when you get really bad news, it can put perspective in your life. So, you're looking at these jerseys and you're like, oh my God, this is awful. And then it's like Zach Wilson's your quarterback. And it's like, what was I upset about? Oh, this is one of the worst days I can recall of Bronco fan ever. I mean,
that's your quarterback right there.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Look at that smile, dude. Tell me that's not a creepy ass smile.
Dude. That's why they chose that photo, man. They wanted to just lean into it.
That's so weird. Okay, so I want to get your initial thoughts, because you're saying, like, obviously the bad news with the uniforms gets worse. Zach Wilson gets traded. You guys get a 7th rounder as well, but you send the 6th rounder to the Jets. So we're talking Stidham, we're talking Zach Wilson, and who's the third guy in there?
Ben DiNucci.
Oh, DiNucci. So this is actually
this is literally hilarious. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I want to get your initial reactions, and then I'm gonna put up a question here by one of our viewers. But go ahead. What was your initial reaction to this news?
Am I allowed to start crying on air? I can try. My initial reaction was that they got this all wrong. We were very clear with what we wanted. What you saw in that video of Surtain going in, that is not okay. Look, it's not just about going back, because I'm going to make a good point. Okay. The new ownership, you could hardly say it's a good decision to try to go back, you know what I mean, to what they were. And this whole thing of the Broncos kind of embracing the new, it's just not very embraceable, right? And I wanted to make this point, but I'm going to wait till Rick actually comes back to make it. But this is absolutely awful. And Bill, I think he messaged me on Twitter saying the Giants also, their fan bases want their retro look to be there every day. And it's just funny that our quarterback room is Ben DiNucci, Zach Wilson, and Jared Stidham, because all I've said this whole offseason is I don't want to have to muster the strength, right, to get a quarterback. And here we are. And my quarterback room is literally my nightmare. And what I've been saying all offseason that I was afraid of happening. My nightmares come true. I don't like our players or our uniform, and I can't switch teams because I'm in love with them. This is a nightmare. And now that we have Rick, I will say, in a time where our entire team is moving in a new direction, right? Brand new uniforms, a brand new era, Sean Payton's second year, Russell Wilson's gone. We are trying to turn a page. But the thing is that we have nothing to be hopeful about. The problem with new uniforms in a year like this is that Bronco fans for the last 10 years almost have not been to the playoffs, right? We're going in our 9th season. And when there's nothing to be hopeful about today, why not reach back and find some nostalgic reason to remind Broncos country why we're enduring this pain, what the Orange Crush was, what Pat Bowlen was, the most winningest franchise in the world with the Yankees, what we were when we had more Super Bowl appearances than losing seasons. You know, the further we get, to me, this feels like a step away from what we were and all of that. And like you said with the Bears, we might add something, but we don't take away anything.
Yeah.
This whole thing to me feels like the new owners were, because there's no way they didn't know what we wanted. So they were like, no, we want to brand them for ourselves. This is not the Pat Bowlen era Broncos. We're not reaching back and grabbing that. Tell all the boomers to kick rocks. We are going to embrace this new material and this new look. And I understand that I don't know, like, I can only have the opinion I have. I can understand how some people might be like, yeah, man, you need to just adapt and be optimistic and be hopeful. But like, I am generally a very optimistic person, and I'm naturally just in somewhat of a good mood. I'm a happy person, and if I'm feeling this way, there's a real problem. Like there is a serious problem. I'm not just trying to be negative for the sake of it. I'm not trying to dislike it because I dislike everything. It's just right now it does feel like we are kind of going down this this really negative road, and these type of things are being added to it. We're losing our history. We're losing it. And when we're trying to grasp onto some kind of identity, all we have is Sean Payton, who's only been with us for 1 year. We're trying to grasp onto an identity where these throwback uniforms could have given that warm and fuzzy feeling for the fan bases as we embrace the next couple of years, remembering that we are a fan base worth enduring the bad years because of what we had in the past, and that we do have 3 Super Bowl rings. And instead, we have these new uniforms with 3 triangles on them that symbolic the 3 Super Bowl rings. It's like, if you want to symbolic the 3 Super Bowl rings, fucking put the jerseys back on.
Yeah. Put the jerseys
I
that
wish,
won the Super Bowl rings on.
Right. And I really wish, like, in some cases, I say a step backward does not mean we didn't take a step forward. But I think that the ownership group felt differently about it. The Waltons felt differently about it. They wanted to rebrand this team. And if I am going to eventually like these uniforms, it's going to take some time. But as today stands, I don't like them at all. The only one I can even bear to look at is like the all whites and the midnight, whatever they're calling them.
Yeah.
The midnight blues or something. And yeah, it's just
blues.
a really sad day. I mean, we look like the Bears. Nothing against the Bears, but we shouldn't look like the Bears. We shouldn't look like Syracuse. We should look like the Orange Crush, or just leave them what they were. But this whole thing doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's weird. Because I totally understand what you're saying. And obviously coming from a Broncos fan, it means a lot more. And it almost reinforces my thoughts too, because you bring in this new ownership, you're supposed to bring in this new identity, which for the most part, you kind of lost with Nathaniel Hackett, but gained back a little bit with Sean Payton. But again, like, it's like another step backwards with the uniforms, because again, they're not amazing uniforms. The throwbacks are awesome. Obviously, when you go throwback, you can't lose, but you also have to complement those throwbacks with something. And basically, like USFL, XFL team type of thing, like that's just not it, man. It really isn't. And then the Zach Wilson thing.
Oh, wait, real quick though.
Yeah.
So I was talking to oh shit, my phone's about to die. Here it died.
Okay.
Okay, so I was talking to someone that openly, she said she doesn't watch football, but she's getting into it. So she told me when I sent her the jerseys and the one I wanted, she said, well, maybe the Denver Broncos are looking at those throwbacks like they're special and sacred, and they can't just wear them every Sunday, but it has to be like a special occasion that they pull that out of the closet.
Okay.
And I was like, damn, that makes sense. That's all I was going to say. It was like, well, I have heard that side and it makes some kind of sense.
Yeah. And that's totally like fair, because that may be the case, but I like the Bears do that as well with like the orange jerseys. Like they weren't for like the game that's closest to Halloween and like maybe 1 or 2 other times. They don't, other than the blue or like the whites or the blue jerseys and white pants versus the blue and the whatever orange pants, like whatever they do, it's not necessarily all the time. It's like those orange jerseys are a little bit special, and the ones with the stripes on the helmets and the stripes on the jerseys and the pants, again, special. But I think, again, like I get what she's saying, and I totally agree, because they're not meant to be worn every Sunday, because then you're just kind of like going back in time and being like, we did exactly what you guys wanted. And it's like, no, these were supposed to be every once in a while. I guess just for me, like, and again, it just, hearing you talk about it reinforces my kind of thought process on this, is like they tried, they swung and they missed. And that's really all there is to it. And it just hurts because a Broncos fan as dedicated and as diehard as you are, has the same feelings that I do, except obviously much, much worse than I do, because it's just the same swing and a miss and swing and a miss and swing and a miss. We traded Russ. We got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Now the uniforms. Now, what are we doing in the draft? We get Zach Wilson. What is the direction? What is the identity? So
right.
With that being said, I want to bring up this question here by GZDR4Ev. If you are Denver, do you take Bo Nix at 12? Zach Wilson instead of on the roster isn't enough. So it's a draft question, obviously, and we're going to get into our final mock draft soon. But he commented this. I figured like this is a perfect time to kind of bring it up.
Yeah, and I think there's 3 roads that you can see us go down, and I guess this road we have to start by saying, okay, Zach Wilson, what is this deal? So Denver essentially swaps a 6th and a 7th round pick with the Jets, right? That's fine, and then makes the Jets pay $5 million of his contract this year. So if you really look at it, it's like, did the Broncos quarterback room improve by adding Zach Wilson? I think he did. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying that I'm happy about this or that we should have gave him anything more than what we gave. I think we gave him literally the bare minimum for a quarterback that, let's just take a second and appreciate something. The Nathaniel Hackett era with the Broncos was the worst offense in the NFL. The Nathaniel Hackett era with Zach Wilson went exactly how it should have gone if you know who Nathaniel Hackett is. Who did Zach Wilson ever have, including a head coach named Robert Saleh, who's a defensive guy? Who did Zach Wilson actually go to? Did he have an opportunity to flourish with someone like Sean Payton? No, he didn't. And neither did Drew Lock, especially when he went to Seattle as well, playing under Pete Carroll. So like some of these quarterbacks in the Mitch Trubisky's in Chicago, then going to Mike Tomlin, we'll see. I bet Russell Wilson and Justin Fields might not pan out. Maybe they will because they don't ask him to do too much, but putting them aside, yeah, this was still a quarterback that PFF graded the number 2 best quarterback in the draft coming up. This is what they said about him. Wilson may very well be that quarterback who goes through his entire rookie contract without making the proverbial leap. Yet I'm right there saying I'd take a chance on him figuring it out ultimately. It's the high-end arm talent that keeps you coming back. Just look at the mustard on his deep throws. They were saying this in 2021, saying he might go through his whole rookie contract, never taking the proverbial leap. But I bet he figures it out eventually. And Zach Wilson right now has the best opportunity that he's ever had to succeed working with Sean Payton. Now, Sean Payton, does he look at Zach Wilson as the answer to our quarterback problem? I don't think so. I really don't. But I think that he is saying, hey, if we can get this guy in on a bargain, let's just bring him into the room, see what we can do, see if there's something there. We have nothing to lose at this point. We have Ben DiNucci and we have, Stidham in this quarterback room. Like, why not bring in Zach Wilson? And no, I don't think it answers our quarterback question, but I think Sean Payton wanted something because he knew, like, hey, Russell Wilson was playing at a pretty damn poor level last year. He made him a middle of the pack quarterback. So I think Sean is literally bringing in Zach Wilson as a fallback plan if they don't draft a quarterback that we can still win 8 or 9 games, which would be purgatory for us because we'll never get a good quarterback. But I think, and I said this after last season, that's our floor with Sean Payton, 8 wins. So I think those are the roads, right? Zach Wilson is going to be the starter or at least compete with Jarrett Stidham. We are going to still draft a quarterback, and that's going to be Zach Wilson, and because Zach Wilson's free, right? So we don't have to worry about cutting one to save money. So our quarterback room can be 2 young quarterbacks, one of them drafted in the 5th round, one of them drafted in the 1st round, 2nd overall, and then whoever comes in like Bo Nix. And maybe we get these 3 together and they have to outcompete each other. And Sean Payton can literally get what he wants, 3 moldable young quarterbacks and see, hey, who's going to rise up and take this position. And I think that's all this move is to bring in competition. But it also opens up the door for Denver not drafting a quarterback in this year's draft, in my opinion. That's door number 3. we are going to ride with the winner of Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. And that's just the way it's going to have to be because of the money Russell Wilson took on his way out the door. So yeah, nobody likes this, but it's not fun going through a rebuild. I don't think it's very often though that you get the number 2 overall pick in the draft who does have ridiculous arm talent, does have the ability to escape. Yes, for every good throw he has 5 what the fuck moments. But like maybe that's what Sean Payton's going to try to get out of him. Is it going to work? Who knows? But I definitely was more upset when I first heard the news than I'm feeling this afternoon.
Yeah, because when I heard it too, it was more of a shocking thing to me too. And it was also like, we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, right? We were like, Zach Wilson, we can recycle the Wilson jerseys or whatever. And honestly, even then I was like, that's not even the worst thing that could happen, because basically what you're saying is my thought process throughout this entire day up until we started talking about it was he was the number 2 overall pick 3 years ago, right? PFF had him saying, PFF said all that. Hey, you might not take this leap. He got fucked in on the Jets with Nathaniel Hackett as his OC. And I don't know, maybe his first 2 years were a little rough too, but this is absolutely something that could be a possibility with Sean Payton being there. And like you said, he turned Russ Wilson into a middle of the pack quarterback. And yes, Russ again had to suffer through Nathaniel Hackett for a year and improved. Not as great as you'd want a $240 million quarterback to improve in a year, but he improved nonetheless. So if you got Zach Wilson, again, coming from a Nathaniel Hackett offense in which he kept getting sat and then started and then sat and then started and just destroyed his confidence, he is now coming into a Sean Payton offense where you're not necessarily expected to do a Super Bowl run, right? You've got a solid offensive line. You've got a solid number 1 wide receiver to throw to. The defense has, I think they regressed last year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe, hopefully an improvement, right?
It wasn't a huge regression. It was just a little bit.
Yeah. And it wasn't anything crazy because for a second there, again, those 5-6 game winning streaks that the Broncos went on, the defense was a huge part of that. So building off
had
that,
like 10 takeaways in those 5 games.
Exactly. So building off that in the offseason, not bad, right? So again, you're not expected to do much. You're probably going to be the starter going into the season, Zach Wilson. Again, you've got a head coach who won a Super Bowl. Again, this could be a good thing for both the Broncos and Zach Wilson. Again, I don't think anyone is expecting a playoff run or anything like that because, like you said, it's definitely a rebuilding year, and it sucks to be rebuilding. Bears have been doing it for like 30 years now, probably more, and it just sucks. But you can look at this and be like, hey, there is some serious optimism going into this season, and what happens in the draft? Maybe you get like a Spencer Rattler or something like that, or what's the guy from Florida State again? His name?
Jordan Travis.
Something with possible low risk, high reward if possible, which is exactly what you're getting with Zach Wilson at this point. Again, you get them all in there to compete. This might be something that in the future, 2 years from now, you're like, okay, that was a low key, very good move by the Broncos.
Yeah, the one thing I guess that I'm holding on to that's probably keeping me from being happy about this is like if we were gonna make this move for Zach Wilson, why didn't we make the exact same move for Justin Fields? Like what? Like
good point.
That's what I don't understand. Like, has Justin Fields not shown you more than Zach Wilson?
Well, so again, if you bring in Justin Fields, right? I think the expectations are higher. Easily.
Yeah, but good. We need something to be hopeful about.
Right, but also, do you want to set yourself up for a possible failure? And I'm not saying that the Broncos are going to be a failure.
Every year.
Well,
every year we all want to set ourselves up for, because that
we
means
do.
you
No,
believe.
No, 100%. But also, like, I don't know, man. I think the Zach Wilson move is again a high risk, high reward. low risk, high reward at this point, right? For the Broncos financially, getting out of the rust thing. You bring in Justin Fields, it all of a sudden, I think, brings a sense of like, hey, we are actually going to try to get a wild card, where I understand that sounding awesome with Justin Fields at quarterback, but
it does.
What if the defense regresses more? What if you don't get the right weapons, right? And again, you're financially juggling this fucking contract with Russ while also getting rid of what was the linebacker you guys got rid of middle of the season to Dallas Cowboys or San Francisco 49ers?
Oh,
what was his fucking name? It started with an
with
R.
a G.
G.
Or Randy Gregory.
Randy Gregory, right? Like that's still something on the books. Am I right?
I think we're out of the woods on that.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess just financially, again, the whole Russ thing, it sucks. For me, this isn't a terrible move. Obviously, you went into the offseason with Jared Stidham at quarterback, and you bring in DiNucci, and now you're bringing in Zach Wilson. Again, you're not necessarily setting up for a huge season. I think the expectations right now are where they need to be at with the players you have. I just think Justin Fields would have made that a little more exciting and also even more painful.
Well, this is what's really funny is that we can always look back, and we talked about this last week, how pro executive scouts, coaches, they all come together and they release usually the day before the draft. And this article was literally published to the day 2 years ago, April 22nd, 2021. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 pick in the draft. And then number 2, this is Zach Wilson. So this is right before the draft. If there were any doubts that Wilson's status as the consensus number 2 quarterback in this class, he earned it with his epic pro day throwing session, March 26. He showcased all the flash in his game. Zach Wilson may be the best I've ever seen, said one general manager who attended. His arm is ridiculous with latitude from BYU's coach and extensive work with his private quarterback coach. He has the mechanics to the point where he can flick the ball across his body at ease like a shortstop turning a double play. And after dealing with injuries his first 2 seasons on campus, Wilson came back healthy in 2020, won a training camp battle for the job, and had a monster season. You watch him flutter some balls around with the bum shoulder and the broken thumb at the end of 2019, and you're not impressed. Then you watch him this year, and he's fucking ripping it everywhere. An NFC scout who studied Wilson extensively. The kid's smart as shit. He's gonna work. He's gonna compete. He's really talented. It's just a matter of how long that story can play out and not rub some people the wrong way, especially some people's mothers. But being a true dude and leader and that presence. These are the kind of things that they said about Zach Wilson. He's going to work. One of the best pro days I've ever seen. And honestly, when we're watching Zach Wilson play, it is clear that he doesn't have a problem with his arm. It is fun to watch him throw the ball. It's got that same kind of flick to it that from like Aaron Rodgers. But that's all fine and dandy. But what about his floor throws? Can we get rid of those? We know the ceiling throws, but it's kind of like Drew Lock. He reminds me a lot of Drew Lock, where it's like the trailer is really good, but if you watch the movie, it sucks. Right?
Yeah.
And hopefully, though, there's something that Sean Payton can unlock in him, and I'm deciding to be optimistic about this and kind of lean in. I know it's like we're the joke of the league right now, but there's some reason to be optimistic, and it starts with Sean Payton.
Whoa! The Carolina Panthers are still in the NFL.
No, they're not.
I don't know. Tepper makes it pretty bad to make them look better than any team in the league.
But they just drafted a number 1 overall quarterback, and they got that going for him. And then they made those moves for. They brought in Josie Jewell from us. They brought in the receiver from Pittsburgh. Like they're making moves. Like, and I think they brought in a running back. Like they're gearing up to me to be a better football team. They're trending the right way. We're still going down. That's the problem.
Okay, yeah, I could see that too.
It doesn't really matter how bad you are as long as you're getting better. What you hate to endure is this downward this decline. And you're just like, what do we have to do to just turn it? And it's like every decision is looked at under a microscope, because every decision's like, is this going to be the one that turns us around? And when you bring in Zach Wilson, it's like, no, this is not going to be the decision that turns us around. But yeah, man, this is rough.
Yeah. And look, all I can say is clearly I've been there. It is though, very promising signs last year when Sean Payton is getting rid of a guy like Randy Gregory. And then later, earlier this year in the offseason, he gets rid of a Russell Wilson and is like, you know what? We have to cut these ties now because they'll just hurt more if we keep the Band-Aid on for another 2 seasons or so.
Yeah.
Because, and that's exactly what it is. When Ryan Poles came in and he got rid of Allen Robinson, he got rid of Khalil Mack, he got rid of all these guys. He dumped these salaries, and we're like, you know what? We're going to suck for the next couple of years. And again, the whole Justin Fields thing, we don't know what we have yet. We can trot them out. But I'm going to try my best by doing these moves today, because it may look like shit now, but in the future, it's going to look a lot better. And again, as someone who's experienced that recently, it's looking much, much better. And that's 3 seasons worth. So, yeah.
Well, we've been doing this for 10. And the thing is, you bring up a good point. Like, if he's willing to cut ties with Russell Wilson, what does that say about how Sean views Zach Wilson? If Sean's willing to cut a player like Russell Wilson, but bring in Zach Wilson, I don't know. There might be something there. Like, obviously, Sean's like, Russell Wilson, absolutely not, because of the money, most likely. But then he looks at Zach Wilson, and I just hope this isn't like an ego thing. Like, Sean, like, what if he's a fun project, like that guy that keeps bringing another car home and there's no room in the driveway and he wants to see if he can get it running? It's
look
like
what someone threw out. What a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. So I just hope that that's not what's going on. Just like, I'm going to prove that I'm the quarterback whisperer. I will turn Zach Wilson around. Look at this throw. Imagine if he could be polished. I hope we're not falling into that trap, but
yeah. Okay.
If that is how he feels, then I'll buy in.
Yeah. And it's true, because that can very, very quickly turn into what you're saying. It could just be like a sand trap where you're like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. And then you're like, wait, what are we doing? What? We picked up his 5th-year option. What's that? Oh, we're doing. And then, like you said, it's just bringing more trash in.
What if he's good?
I mean, again, I'm just saying the things you were talking about, the optimism going forward, those were pretty much my thoughts after the initial shock of the trade. I was like, wait, this guy was a number 2 overall. This guy's going to Sean Payton. Yeah, this guy's going to a Cortland Sutton. You know what I mean? Like it's
Tim
not
Patrick
and Tim Patrick, Marvin Mims. Who's your tight end? Dulcich?
We have Greg Dulcich, and we just re-signed Adam Trotman.
Okay, so again, established guys, I feel like. So,
and we're bringing in Brock Bowers,
and possibly Brock Bowers.
Maybe.
I don't like, the optimism should absolutely be there. But at the same time, I think it should be like a tempered type of optimism where you're like, look,
yeah,
if this in a year, right? Like if in a year, this looks like Zach Wilson did this first 3 years, I don't see Sean Payton having any sort of remorse for bringing him in, just being like, yeah, he's done. We gave it a try. He's done.
We tried that experiment, didn't work out. The only thing is, like, whether we're good or bad, we're gonna look bad, and that's the hardest pill to swallow.
Real quick, to answer Bill's question, yes. If Kyle is going down to Cali for what is it, Chargers Broncos game?
Yeah, we're gonna do a whole only football event.
I am down. We could get some, we'll probably even do like a meetup if anybody else from California listens to us, and we can definitely do a meetup there.
In Cali.
There we go. So Bill, I am down. I am absolutely down to be there. So,
Baby, are
will
you
love it.
down, down, down,
Down, down, down, down,
Oh,
down.
even if the sky is falling down, it is.
For Broncos fans, it is. But hey, we have got the draft to look forward to. And with that being said, Kyle, where's the background? Damn it, where's the background?
Oh, dude, what if we look back in 1 week from now and we're like, remember when we thought Zach Wilson was going to be competing?
Oh, we're totally going to.
Oh my God, they drafted Drake May. Oh my God, what? No, I don't think you'd make a move like this if you're about to move up and get Drake May, right?
Maybe though.
What the hell is going on? Let's find out in this mock draft.
Let's do our mock draft. We're going to do our 2.0, our second mock draft, our final and most correct mock draft of all time, Kyle. So let me share our initial mock draft here. 1 second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to present, share screen. Here we go. So as you can see, this is our entire, hold on, let me scroll down a little bit. If you guys can read that, hopefully you can. So number 1, obviously Caleb Williams. We disagreed on Drake May and Jaden Daniels, and then you guys could kind of go 1 through 32 there here in a bit. So that was our very first mock draft. There were some things that I think both Kyle and I were just like, oh shit, you went with that, so on and so forth. But we're going to do our number 2 mock draft. Kyle, are you ready to start? Because I'm going to start pulling it in at the banner. Don't you fucking dare.
Always ready.
Oh, Kyle wants to get hit. Okay, here we go. So
smoke.
I want that smoke. Okay. So let's do it. We're going to go 1 for 1 this time. So there isn't any top 5 or anything. We're just going to go 1 for 1. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go. I guess I'll go 1.
Okay.
All right. Drafting at number 1, Chicago Bears. I'm sorry. Let me do this properly. With the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, USC. Oh, we heard a lot about this guy. We knew it was the pick. Caleb Williams, the most polished quarterback in the draft, coming on stage. And now he's taking a picture with the commissioner, and his outfit's ridiculous. The Bears fans are going crazy. It's going to be a new era, and the Super Bowl expectations start now.
Yes, absolutely. 100% correct. I'm going to paint 1 nail for the draft.
Me too. I'll do it with you.
We got to do our pinkies, of course. We got to do our pinkies.
Why, of course?
You said what?
I said, why, of course?
It's got to be the pinkies, of course, dude. What do you mean?
Why can't it be the thumb?
Nope, it's your pinky.
All right.
You know why. Anyway, let's go. I am also number 1 overall pick. The Chicago Bears are taking Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. It's been obvious this entire time. There's really no debate about it now. Caleb Williams is going number 1 to the Bears, and he is going to bring 8 Super Bowls to the Chicago Bears in his entire career. Number 2. Number 2, Kyle. Who do you got at number 2?
With the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, the Commanders select Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels comes off the board here at number 2. I think it's going to be a great fit with their system. Jaden Daniels has worked his way up the board. I think he deserves to be picked at number 2. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I've been really open about it. He's my favorite quarterback. Accounting for 55 touchdowns is fucking ridiculous. And he did that. I think he had 40 through the air and like 15 on the ground, or maybe 10 on whatever it was. It was It was insane. Now, this might be more up in the air than people have previously assumed between Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I'm still going with Jaden Daniels here on this pick, but I think you should not be surprised if it's Drake May.
Yeah, and for number 2, I had Drake May last mock draft. I'm also going Jaden Daniels for the Washington Commanders at quarterback. Switching it to Jaden Daniels. We talked to Jake earlier at the beginning of the show, and he said that Drake May is probably the more complete quarterback. Obviously, he mentioned he's a sponge. He's still learning stuff. He's still, getting used to what the NFL is going to be, but he thinks that he's going to be the best quarterback. I believe, not to put words in his mouth, but I do believe him saying that means he's probably going to translate into the better quarterback out of this draft class. But I think Jaden Daniels, for what he's done in LSU, winning the Heisman, like you said, accounting for 55 touchdowns, plus what he can do on his feet, it adds a really good, I guess, just kind of like another layer to his game for the Washington Commanders. What I do think is funny, though, is back in 2012, who was the number 1 quarterback prospect that everybody knew the Indianapolis Colts were going to get? Kyle, do you remember?
Andrew Luck.
Who was next? Washington was next, and they picked up RG3, another guy who was very mobile, accounted for a lot of touchdowns, impressed completely throughout his career. I just think it's funny that 12 years later, it's happening almost in that exact same way. The number 1 overall pick, everyone has already said it, is going to be Caleb Williams. What are the Washington Commanders going to do it too? They take another guy who is mobile quarterback, but hopefully the career does not end up the same way for Jaden Daniels. I just do think it's funny that 12 years later, this is kind of the same exact situation that the Commanders find themselves in. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, number 2.
With the 3rd pick in the NFL draft, the New England Patriots, okay, first off, plenty of options here. If they want to move back, they need a lot of pieces to build around. They're in a full-on rebuild at this point.
Yeah.
I do think that would be an option depending on what the Commanders do at 2, but I'm going to say that the New England Patriots stay put and select Drake May out of UNC. Trading down, like I said, viable route, but passing on a quarterback talent like Drake May, I think, is unlikely here. So the Patriots are going to get one of the highest upside quarterbacks in the draft, most star potential, and at the most important position that they need, right? People are talking about New England moving back. Well, keep in mind that they need a quarterback, and moving back under a first year of a new regime and skipping out on somebody that is projected to turn into a Josh Allen type quarterback might not go over so well. It might be like in the Houston Texans playoff game when DeMeco Ryans got conservative in the first half. It's like, well, it's my first time here. I really haven't earned the right to be overly aggressive yet. I don't think the Patriots' new front office earned the right to skip out on Drake May, so he's going to come off the board here.
Love it. And there's been a lot of chatter about the Patriots actually, trading this pick away for the right amount of picks because, again, first year under Gerard Mayo, not necessarily a lot of weapons, maybe not a great situation to find yourself in. But hey, you're number 3 for a reason. You have to take Drake May at number 3, and I am going with Drake May at number 3, unless they like JJ McCarthy more, right? Like I have seen mock drafts in which JJ McCarthy is the option here. But to me, I have to agree with what Jake said and what you're saying too. He seems to be the better quarterback, was asked to do a lot more with his arm. The stats speak for themselves. He's just a more complete guy, at least through college. And I think is going to be a great quarterback for the New England Patriots. So yeah, Drake May at 3.
Well, we've agreed on everything, ladies and gentlemen. This is the mock draft we promised, but we didn't look at each other's picks.
We don't. Yeah.
So
that's true.
If it happened, I would rather it be authentic. I would rather agree on every pick. I think that would be really crazy.
That would be insane. But hey, we've got 29 more picks to go. We're bound to disagree.
All right. So the Cardinals picking here at number 4. they have a chance to be one of the main pivot points in this year's draft, especially for teams that are targeting JJ McCarthy. I think that the Arizona Cardinals are actually going to stay put. Now, when this board is falling, I think when the Patriots are on the clock, people are going to get it really antsy. And then when it gets to the Cardinals, people are going to be expecting a big trade here. I don't think that anybody's going to call and offer Arizona enough, because you do have a little bit of the teams underneath playing hardball. I think everyone's going to wait around and no one's going to make the first move. And the Cardinals are going to end up selecting Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. It's a great receiver. We know that the Cardinals have had good receivers from like Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, DeAndre Hopkins. Now you're bringing in a guy that has the potential to be a Hall of Famer, a once in a generation type receiver coming in, which we have a lot of those actually in this first round. But Arizona strikes first, and they get the guy that most have agreed is the Caleb Williams of the wide receiver class.
Yep. And let's not forget too, they got rid of Marquise Brown, who was their number one guy. Right. So to go wide receiver, to stay put makes 100% perfect sense. And I'm sticking with my pick from last mock draft that we did. They are going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. here at number 4. Yeah, we're going to take him. I don't think it necessarily makes sense for them to move out with a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. Available at number 4. Kyle and I have talked a lot about this, where we're starting to think that, at least I'm starting to think that these third rounders are going to be just as valuable as like second round picks. So these first rounders, these first 10, 15 picks are going to be extremely valuable and are going to immediately help your team, immediate starters, immediate impacts. Offensively, you're looking for somebody for Kyler Murray to throw to, right? Other than his tight end. And why not bring in a Marvin Harrison Jr. from one red uniform to another red uniform? Bring in Marvin Harrison Jr. There's no reason to kind of think about this a little too much. I mean, unless the Cardinals are getting a Justin Jefferson, let's say, from a Minnesota Vikings team that is desperate for a quarterback, the Cardinals I don't see the Cardinals moving from 4. They're bringing in Marvin Harrison Jr. and they've got another pick in this draft later on, I believe. Let me just double check to see what other pick they have. Unless I'm at 20.
The D for the P.
Yeah, the D for the P. They also have number 27, and in a very deep wide receiver class, number 27 and number 4, the Cardinals are definitely gonna make a splash. So yeah, number 4, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't know I was interrupting you there.
No, you're good. You're good.
All right, at number 5. All right, things might start to get squirrely. The Minnesota Vikings are on the clock after trading the number 5 overall pick to the Vikings for both of Minnesota's first round picks. And the Chargers select JJ McCarthy, or the Vikings.
The Vikings, right? I was like, huh?
I did say, though, and when we first started this, I did say, don't be surprised if there is a trade of Justin Herbert on draft night and the Chargers end up selecting JJ McCarthy.
Wow.
So the way it would work is a team like the Chargers and the Vikings would be in trade. The Vikings, however, would give the Chargers their first overall pick or their first round pick and Justin Jefferson for Justin Herbert. And then the Chargers would have 2 first round picks to get Malik Neighbors and JJ McCarthy. So in the first year, the Chargers offense would be Malik Neighbors, Justin Jefferson, and then you would have JJ McCarthy. And and then another pick to come, because those 2. All I'm saying is that it's very possible. And yesterday we saw reports that the Chargers are flirting with that idea. But we also found that Justin Herbert every offseason's talked about in these fake blockbuster trades, like the amount of times his name comes up. But I just wouldn't be surprised depending on how much Harbaugh loves McCarthy. But for this mock draft, I'm going to say that the Vikings and Chargers swap picks here. The Chargers are going to get 2 picks, which is going to help them in the rebuild. And the Vikings take J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy wasn't really asked to drive the ship in college like we talked about earlier, but owners and GMs and scouts are seeing enough traits where it's possible to envision him as a long-term starter somewhere. The Vikings need a freaking quarterback to compete with Sam Darnold. So I think Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and JJ McCarthy would be a solid lineup to give the fans some hope moving forward.
You know what? And I was starting to flirt a little bit with this pick as well when I was going through this mock draft. I was thinking, like, why not, trade Justin Herbert to the Vikings?
Would you do it?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know if I trade a quarterback whose rookie season threw for what, 5,000 yards, something like that, something ridiculous.
Something like that.
It's just for the Chargers, you got to get weapons, and that's why the Chargers are trading with the Vikings in this pick as well.
Oh my gosh!
Chargers are getting 11 and 23. They're giving number 5 to the Vikings, and the Vikings, Kyle, we're 5 for 5. They're also taking JJ McCarthy at quarterback at number 5. So the first 5 picks, 4 quarterbacks are off the board with the top ranked wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. But yeah, I've got this trade going down, and it's the only trade I've got going down. But I think this one has been in the works, or at least been speculated to be in the works for pretty much the entire offseason in terms of draft status.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be shocked about this. I mean, it's pretty clear that's why the Vikings wanted to load up and have those 2 first-round picks, is because they want to package. They want to be able to have the ability to move up if the board's falling the way that we both think it does. So, all right, now with the number 6 pick in the draft. Okay, this is going to be interesting here because I know. This is going to be interesting for the Bills, but I think the Bills are going, or the Giants. I was thinking of Bill. I was thinking that the Giants are going to take Joe Alt here.
Oh, so you do have Joe Alt.
I think as far as positional rank, he's one of those guys that's going to come in. He's going to be in a Pro Bowler every single year. This is the way the quarterbacks are falling. This is your Penei Sewell, if you will, of this year's draft class. The talent is ridiculous. It's never exciting when you take an offensive lineman this high, except when it's Joe Alt.
Yeah.
Except when it's Penei Sewell. Like, I think this is going to be a solid move to really bolster that entire offensive line. This is the only way to ensure that whoever's going to be playing quarterback has an actual opportunity to develop and have that time. Like, it would be really cool to say, oh, the Giants draft, but look at the quarterbacks we just took up the board. Bo Nix. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How about they just, secure the top offensive tackle to come out of college in who knows how long.
Yeah. Yeah. And last mock draft, I would have agreed with you. I think as we get closer to the draft, we're literally 3 days away. The Giants just have to take the offensive talent, and they're going Malik Neighbors, wide receiver. They're taking the second wide receiver off the board at number 6, Malik Neighbors from LSU. I agree with you. I think Joe Alt and an offensive lineman for the Giants makes a little bit more sense. Now, yeah, again, the Penei Sewell thing, the winning in the trenches, 100%. I just think in this case for the Giants, the way they, like how Bill was saying, we missed on Neal, so I'm gun shy. Again, I've been there as a Bears fan. I think you have to go with the sure thing as a wide receiver and hope that within his 5 years rookie contract, Danny Dimes is actually the quarterback you're expecting, or you're able to draft someone within the next couple seasons in order to make Malik Neighbors, that amazing wide receiver that he's expected to be. But I'm going Malik Neighbors at number 6 for the Giants.
All right. At number 7, we have the Tennessee Titans on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And with the number 7 pick, the Tennessee Titans select Malik Neighbors, wide receiver, LSU.
Wow.
This is sad for Malik Neighbors. But when you have a quarterback like, what the hell is his name?
Levis.
Will Levis. When you have a young quarterback and you're hearing the ownership go, he's got a long way to go, but we're invested in him.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you show it. Malik Neighbors falls down this board because of Marvin Harrison and 4 quarterbacks, but he's not supposed to be here on a regular draft night. Tennessee would be dumb to not do it. I think this is where Malik Neighbors comes off the board.
Okay, I like that. And we basically have the pick switched here because I have Joe Alt at number 7 going to the Titans. Again, why not Rome Odunze, right? Because of the talent there. But man, the way that Will Levis was getting his ass handed to him by the defense last season when he was, became the regular starter, you knew that the Titans going into this draft were like, look, if we want to progress with this guy, he's shown, spurts of just great quarterback play. We need to protect them. First things first, we need to protect them. They went out. What was the receiver that they got in the offseason, the Titans? Because they did get somebody, and I forget who they got. Offseason.
Calvin
Ridley.
Calvin Ridley. I don't know why. Like when you said that, I didn't know, but I definitely knew that.
Yeah, so they got Calvin Ridley. They got somebody for this guy to throw to. And Calvin Ridley, yes, while he had a very off season last year with the Jaguars, for a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback, a young quarterback at that, I think will be a solid choice. But yeah, you got to go Joe Alt here to protect him so he has time to throw to Calvin Ridley. So I'm going Joe Alt, number 7.
I respect it. And Bill, let us know what you think about it. And if we hit on your team while we're going down, let us know in the comments what you guys think about it, if you agree with it, all that good stuff. So, all right, here we go. With the number 7 pick.
8.
Or I'm sorry, with the number 8 pick, I have the Chicago Bears
Falcons.
Moving up.
Oh, wow.
To number 8.
What?
And I know. But I think that there's a talent on the board that they can't ignore, and I think it's Rome Odunze. Okay. Chicago is going to jump the board to get their hands on Odunze, who has the potential we talked about to be the best receiver in this class. Wide receiver is not an immediate need for the Bears with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen on the roster, but I think that he's one of those players that is just too attractive to let sit there at number 7. I think Ryan Poles shows that even though he drafted Caleb Williams with 1, even though he's about to pick at 9, he's not content until they keep adding the stars on this team. This is the kind of draft where moving from 9 to 7 in 5 years from now, when Rome Odunze is Justin Jefferson, people are going to be like, what a move by Poles. Good thing they didn't settle for maybe somebody like Brian Thomas Jr., who is also a great wide receiver in this draft class, but maybe they don't pan out to even the same league, in 5 years. So I think that's what this decision is by Poles, is to move up and just grab somebody that should not be on the board at number 8.
Okay, I like the pick. I'm assuming it would just be a 1-for-1 swap, 9 to 8, 8 to 9 for the Falcons.
Yeah, you'd have to add in like a 3rd round pick or probably something like that.
God, I hope not, because we only have 4 picks in the draft after this.
But if your top 2 are Pro Bowlers,
you're right.
All
right, for number 8 for myself, the Falcons are staying put. And they're actually taking Rome Odunze. They are the ones taking the wide receiver. The Falcons, for pretty much the longest time, up until maybe just a couple days ago, have been predicted to take a defensive lineman, an edge guy. I think this is similar to what the Giants experienced just 2 picks ago. You got to take the guy who's going to give you, who is, the top rated talent here. You take the most talented person. Rome Odunze is that talented person. You are putting him in an offense that is Bijan Robinson, that is what's his name? Drake, right? Drake, something Drake, the wide receiver. Anyway, and then
I can't remember him.
Yeah, I can't either. He was from USC. And then Drake London, yes, and your tight end as well there with Kirk Cousins throwing to you. Rome Odunze is going to be a huge benefactor of that offense if he gets selected by the Falcons. So Rome Odunze to the Falcons at number 8 for me.
All right. At number 9, we had the swap. The Atlanta Falcons select Brian Thomas Jr. Or Brian Thomas, wide receiver, LSU. Not sure if it's going to be like the Bears and Falcons. Let's just say they're in different positions right now. Atlanta's got a new coach. They brought in a new quarterback. I think that they probably feel like Brian Thomas is good enough where they'll accept a 3rd-round pick in exchange of passing on Rome Odunze, because they're in more of hey, let's try to load up and see how good we can really get right now.
Yeah.
And adding a 3rd-round pick might just be huge. So they did add Darnell Mooney and Rondale Moore this offseason, but I think the Falcons could still use another wide receiver that makes his living on the outside, going down and making big plays downfield. Brian Thomas, if you actually look at his combine numbers with his size and speed, like, there's no reason to think that this is a downgrade from, like, he's still in that tier 1 of wide receivers. And that's why I think he's going to be picked in the top 10. And this is crazy, man. Yeah. I mean, because as we continue to draft quarterbacks and wide receivers, there are players that have no business being on the board, like, that are just falling down the board here.
Correct. And one of them that I think has no business being this, in any other draft, really, let's put that into it, right? At number 9, the Bears, after the Falcons take Rome Odunze and pretty much have that figured out for them, the Bears are taking Jared Verse at edge. They're taking Jared Verse. They are upgrading the defensive line there on the edge, opposite of Montez Sweat. Like you said, they brought in Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. That's your 1 and 2 going into the season. This is a pretty deep wide receiver draft. Not saying that whoever they get in the 3rd or 4th round or beyond is going to be a starter, but they have a lot more potential, and that's why the Bears are going opposite of Montez Sweat here, taking Jared Verse at edge.
Fair enough. At number 10, the New York Jets are on the clock, and they draft Troy Fautanu, the offensive lineman out of Washington.
Okay.
I think the Jets could be playing footsie with Brock Bowers, especially when you think about the Aaron Rodgers and the addition of Mike Williams and adding somebody like that, mixing that with Garrett Wilson. The hype would be unreal. But there's nothing that reminds you that none of it matters if Aaron Rodgers isn't on the field. And having him play 2 snaps or 3 snaps last year is the only reminder that the Jets need to take the top offensive lineman in the draft at 10.
Love it. All right. So for me, for the Jets, you've got them going Troy Fautanu, an offensive lineman. I got them going Olu Fashanu, I believe out of Penn State, offensive lineman. And pretty much what you said. What happened to Aaron Rodgers and basically the Jets season? It went down on the 4th play of that first game. So they're gonna re-up on the offensive line, and I got them taking Olu Fashanu, which is a guy again who really in any other draft shouldn't be falling down to 10, shouldn't be falling down to double digits, should have probably be a top 5 pick. But when you have a top heavy offensive draft like you do in this one, he's going to fall down, and the Jets are going to be the benefactor of it. Olu Fashanu at 10.
Yeah, and I have that same pick coming in at number 11 with the Chargers on the clock after moving back. Jim Harbaugh, he's talked about the importance of offensive linemen all off season, and this is a guy that has fallen down the board due to injury and a inconsistent senior season, but this is a guy that's going to slide into right tackle, and he is going to play immediately. I like this pick for the Chargers here at number 11, especially when you consider their head coach and the philosophy and trying to bring that toughness to the Chargers. This is, like you said, someone that shouldn't be on the board at 11, and the Chargers know that. That's why they trade with the Vikings in the first place and collect their reason right here at 11, and we'll see more of them later.
Wait, who do they have at 11?
All five, the same.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was like waiting this entire time for the pick, and I didn't think you said it.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I started off with, I have the same pick, but just at 11. Yeah.
I didn't catch that at first. Sorry. Olu Fashanu. Okay. And offensive line again for me as well here at the Chargers. They're taking J.C. Latham at 11 for myself. They're not, in this case, they're not trading away Herbert at all. They just got to re-up on his protection, and eventually, as you go throughout this draft, throughout all the rounds, they're going to up his weapons too. Maybe even try to bring in somebody else too. I don't know. But for right now, protect your guy, J.C. Latham, for myself at 11 for the Chargers. Number 12, Kyle. Number 12.
All right. At number 12, I thought for a while Terrion Arnold was the pick here to match with Surtain. After the addition of Zach Wilson, and hear me out, this is all I'm thinking is if Sean is thinking to himself, hey, we can't beat them with quarterback play, and we're not going to do it with just defense, but maybe if I can draw up the perfect play like Kyle Shanahan for Brock Purdy, the athletes on the field will do the work for the quarterback. And right now, Greg Dulcich and his injury concerns, Adam Trautman, you look at the history of Sean Payton with guys like Taysom Hill and his infatuation with the tight end position, and a guy that is considered the best tight end prospect ever on the board at number 12. I think Sean Payton gets an erection, and I think he capitalizes on it. I'm saying the Denver Broncos with the 12th overall pick select Brock Bowers, tight end, Georgia.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to really juice up the offense. I think it's going to allow schematically for Sean to try to get a scheme to work for Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham or whatever by just having the best athletes on the field, not necessarily worrying about the best quarterback because that opportunity is not here. What we can do is look through this other door and maybe find a different way to win football games utilizing players like Brock Bowers.
Love it. Okay. I like that. And again, the tight end situation, not amazing for the Broncos. So bringing in some guy like this, yeah, definitely ups the ante right there for you guys. I'm going defense for the Broncos in this case. I'm going edge, Dallas Turner.
Ooh.
Going Dallas Turner at 12. We're going to continue saying this throughout the first round, a guy that should not be available at 12. He's going to be that good. And, as much as Sean Payton is a guy who's going to be offense, adding a guy like Dallas Turner is going to up the defense. I think, again, tempered expectations, tempered optimism for the Broncos. If you guys can get that defense, with the loss of Randy Gregory, the step back you guys took, you guys just lost your linebacker as well, right? What was his name?
Josie Jewell.
So maybe adding a playmaker like Dallas Turner there on the edge is going to up, just improve that defense. And then eventually the offense, I think, is going to get there. So I'm going Dallas Turner at 12 for the Broncos.
Love it. I wouldn't be mad about it at all.
Mm-hmm.
With the 13th pick, I got the Raiders selecting Quinion Mitchell, the first defensive player that I think is going to come in and make an immediate impact. Cornerback out of Toledo. We all know who he is, his playmaking ability. This is a solid move for the Raiders. I normally would expect them to make a bad decision here, but I think Antonio Pierce, being a defensive guy, is going to be maybe the sound of reason on draft night. And I think they're going to take a defensive player that has fallen down the board and the top cornerback of the draft.
All right. So for the Raiders here at 13, I've actually got them taking Brock Bowers. You lose your tight end, you lose your running back. Yes, you still have Devontae Adams. You need another weapon there on defense, on offense. Sorry. And Brock Bowers is going to be a Raider. And hopefully that's a good thing for his career, because we've seen
hopefully it's not.
Hopefully it's not. You're right. Sorry. on your end, you're right. But we've seen guys in the draft that end up with the Raiders just have the absolute worst time and worst career. I know Kyle's hoping that for Brock Bowers if he does end up going to the Raiders, but I think Brock Bowers going to the Raiders at 13. Give Gardner Minshew a big target and a guy who's going to be very consistent there on that offense.
Love that. And hopefully you're wrong about it all.
I knew it.
What do you expect? All right. At number 14, the New Orleans Saints are on the clock. This is our ex-Sean Payton's team, and the Saints need an offensive lineman, and J.C. Latham comes off the board here.
Like that.
Latham was a right tackle in college. He can easily hang out there at the next level. I think he's going to come in and start immediately, and this will answer their left tackle problem right now, because Ryan – I can't pronounce the last name. Ryan Ramlovic or something like that. He is gone, and the Saints really don't have a succession plan for him. So I think this pick makes a lot of sense.
Love it. 14.
Isn't it boring when the offensive lines get drafted, when the tackles get drafted? It's like, all right, good pick.
Do you remember when Rusty was on here, or it wasn't, maybe it was Rusty, or maybe it was it Berger when they were on here, when they were like picking an offensive lineman in the first round is just boring. Do you remember that conversation?
It's boring but necessary.
Yeah, because we were talking about the Lions and we're like, Penei Sewell, awesome pick. And he's like, yeah, boring, boo.
Yeah,
I like,
yeah.
what?
I think it was Burtonberger.
Yeah, I think it was Burtonberger.
I'm like,
because
that was a generational talent.
I've also got the Saints going offensive line, except I've got them going Talizi Fuaga. So I got them going offensive line as well. The Saints have so much wrong with them, and to at least have some sort of stability there at the offensive line for presumably the next quarterback after Carr, I think is going to be a smart move to do now instead of worrying about it when your quarterback is similar to what Will Levis is doing and running for his fucking life. So I think they invest in the line now. Later on down the road, they're going to worry about their offense, and that's going to be an entirely different thing. But Talizi Fuaga at 14 for the Saints.
All right, so we just had those swapped pretty much. At number 15, Jinja, the Indianapolis Colts select Dallas Turner, edge from Alabama. I'm going to say at 15, the Turners' fall will stop. The Colts could use another rusher up front. Turner would find himself in a great spot to play with DeForest Buckner. It's like we just talked about Dallas Turner, but when you did it, it's hard to find a 20-year-old edge rusher that runs a 4.47. Turner could go much higher, but I do project there's going to be a couple players that are just going to fall down the board, and one of them is going to be like we talk about. Oh, this guy shouldn't be picked here. But there's going to be players that are going to fall to like 20 that should have been maybe in the top 5 in another year. So this is just going to be a really good first round, and for the Colts to match with Dallas Turner and DeForest Buckner, like, I mean, this is an A+ pick here for the Colts.
I like it. I got the Colts at 15 picking on the other side of the ball, and again, upgrading the offensive line, going Graham Barton, offensive lineman for Anthony Richardson. Again, you don't want this guy to get hurt anymore because you don't have a Gardner Minshew behind him. You do have Joe Flacco, but again, if Anthony Richardson's running for his life, do you think Joe Flacco is going to be able to run for his life? He's fucked too. So
No.
they're going they're going Graham Barton offensive line at 15.
All right, and there is a theme here, but it's because these players are so highly drafted. It's hard. I'm sure it'll get more different. I have Graham Barton going at 16 to the Seahawks.
Oh, okay.
This is a fit that I've liked pretty much all along with the kind of philosophy. We don't know a ton about Coach McDonald or McDonald, not McDonald, McDonald. But we know that Barton is going to be a good offensive tackle in this year's draft. He's one of the top 5 in the position, and this shores up the offensive line in the spot that the Seahawks have the deepest need. And I think it also gives you insurance in case a different offensive tackle goes down with another injury, because they dealt with a lot of injuries last year. The Seahawks make the boring pick, but a necessary move, especially if they're going to try to get the most out of Geno, who is aging, even though he was clocked at 21 miles per hour the other day. Yeah.
Insane.
I was like, what the fuck?
How the fuck, right? Like, how does Geno Smith still have the wheels?
He can talk to his trainer. He must have trained at NC State.
That man did a quick little thing of cocaine, and it was like, I'm also going offensive line for the Seahawks, but I've got them taking Amarius Mims here. Similar to pretty much what the things you're saying, like Geno Smith needs protection as well, because really you got to see what you got out of him. And like you said, he's aging. What can he do in the pocket? You don't want him to do too much. Again, he's going 21 miles per hour as a human being. Crazy to think about, but you also want to protect him, make sure that he doesn't have to turn on the burners and risk an injury. So again, upgrading the offensive line with Amarius Mims at 16 for the Seahawks.
With the 17th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Jackson Jaguars, the Jackson Jaguars,
the Jackson 5 Jaguars.
You have one job to say the team's name, and you fucked it up. That would be my luck if I had to announce a pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars select. Let me get a Duval before I give it to you. Duval. Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. Now, the Jaguars have a huge need for wide receiver, especially after sending Calvin Ridley to their divisional rival, the Tennessee Titans. This is the best wide receiver on the board at this point in the draft. I still think that they're going to, after Trevor Lawrence's kind of lackluster season, you don't want to just get rid of a guy like Calvin Ridley, send him to a division, and then not draft a wide receiver. It just doesn't make sense to me. Adonai Mitchell, the best wide receiver on the board, Jacksonville is going to try to continue to help Trevor Lawrence, and they're going to do that by this draft.
All right. I like that. And yeah, you're right. The wide receiver thing for them, definitely an issue. They gotta like get in this draft correctly. I'm going with Terrion Arnold though here for the Jaguars at 17. Another pick that I think is you get the talent here, and Terrion Arnold along with Quinyon Mitchell, the two best cornerbacks in the draft here for the defense for Jacksonville in terms of like the passing. Not great whatsoever. I mean, they're middle of the pack to the close to the very bottom of the league, so they want to shore up that cornerback position, that secondary, and I think Terrion Arnold here is going to be a good, solid value pick for them at number 17. So I got Jaguars taking Terrion Arnold at number 17.
Love that pick, and I think when you look at the corners that are falling down the board, like it's going to be a really. I think the draft grades are going to be abnormally A's, whereas like a lot of years you get like some C's, some B's. There's too much talent coming in. And at number 18, I have the Cincinnati Bengals drafting Byron Murphy, defensive tackle out of Texas. I went back and forth on him or Brock Bowers until I was like, there's no way Sean's going to let that guy slip down the board. So I think an offensive lineman would also make sense as an insurance for 2024 because we know that they've been trying to beef that room up, but they deal with injuries. And more importantly, they have a quarterback that can't stay healthy. But I just think right here, this Murphy pick would be ideal because he'll pair really well with Sheldon Rankins and BJ Hill. And neither Hill's or Rankins contracts have been going longer than the next 2 seasons. So this could potentially be a long-term need type of draft pick here. But yeah, Byron Murphy, a very good defensive tackle, falling down to 18, and the Bengals get another really great player and look to aim to get back to the Super Bowl.
I've also got Byron Murphy the second here at number 18 going to the Bengals. Crazy how that happened.
We came back together.
Yeah. And we were both a little we were both a little off last mock draft we did because I think you had offensive line. And you kind of said it just now. You could see them go offensive line, but I had them going Leatu Latu last mock draft. But Byron Murphy again, a solid defensive lineman pick here for the Bengals. Yeah, I got him at 18 as well.
Well, you and I are insanely in sync. Besides in that moment. I'm just kidding. I like to see. I made this video. It was like 10 seconds long, and it's like making it all about the Broncos. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if you make like a 10-second one, I make a 10-second one, and at any point in our episode, you're allowed one time to just basically interrupt the podcast with your 7-second video and be like, "Oh, this reminds me of that one time." You know?
I'm down.
That would be cool, right?
I'm down. Yeah.
Well, this pick to me makes a ton of sense. The Rams are on the clock here at 19. They have been excellent at drafting, so there's no reason to doubt that they're going to pick who is considered the best corner in this year's draft, but somehow he still hasn't been picked. Cooper DeJean comes off the board. Ooh. It makes sense. You look at their head coach, Sean. Sean
McVay.
Sean McVay, thank you. You look at him and the talent. He will always draft talent over hype. And you look at the whether it's Cooper Kupp or the Nico. Wow, I'm doing bad with names today. What the hell?
Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua, thank you.
Yeah.
Nico. In the 5th round, like, he has a way of just drafting totally away from what the boards look like, but they draft with such convictions that you've learned to trust their picks. I don't think the Rams pass up on Cooper DeJean. They have Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams right now, but they still need to bolster that secondary. They could use a long-term option, and Cooper DeJean has the athleticism to play all over the field. He has toughness to be a safety, which I cannot stand when people say that, because there's no reason to say he should move to safety.
Yep.
He ran a 4.4 40. And this is why Sean McVay is happy that other teams let him fall down the board, and he's going to be laughing his way to a maybe defensive rookie of the year campaign with the Rams. There's no reason he fell down the board, but guess what? He doesn't move to safety. He stays at corner and becomes one of the best in the league.
I like that because I've also got them picking a cornerback here, but it's actually Quinyon Mitchell.
Ooh, okay.
Quinyon Mitchell falls all the way to 19. Cooper DeJean, I love the pick here. Again, like you said, probably one of the better cornerbacks, but injuries early, right? Quinyon Mitchell's.
You don't want to. Rick doesn't want to say it.
He's a white. No, I'm just kidding. He's a white guy. Let's be real here. No, I'm going Quinyon Mitchell again. Terrion Arnold, I think, is the better cornerback. And then I got Quinyon Mitchell at a very close second. Cooper DeJean up there as well, but I got them taking Quinyon Mitchell here at number 19.
Yeah, and with me, Quinyon Mitchell, drafting him earlier, it's like the fact that he's still on the board is pretty incredible. At number 20, I have another corner coming off the board here. So at number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock, and with the 20th pick in the first round, they select Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama, who in previous drafts, I've had him going as high as 12, and I've also had him going to teams like the Broncos. Many people think Terrion Arnold's the best corner in this draft. An offensive line could be addressed here for the Steelers, but I think it's a priority that Mike Tomlin gets the defense right because of the type of offense that they're moving towards. Joey Porter Jr. is an amazing cornerback. I think they got him in the first pick in the second round last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they did. That was the Bears pick.
So they move up the board. They get somebody like that. Now you get Terrion Arnold, and you're talking about overnight one of the better cornerback rooms in the country. When you're going into a season where you need Russell Wilson or Justin Fields to just not fuck up in order to get to that next level, defense makes sense here to me.
I like it. I'm going to go offense for the Steelers, and I went offense for them last time as well for the Steelers. Last mock draft, I had them going Adonai Mitchell. I'm going Brian Thomas Jr. for wide receiver in this one. The Steelers, again, basically what I said last time we were doing a mock draft, they need another young wide receiver in that room for your Russell Wilson, for your Justin Fields. They have George Pickens, and he's going to probably be a stud. And then 2-3 years from now, he's going to get upset with the coach and then leave because that's just how their offensive studs go. So they need a younger guy. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to fulfill that need at wide receiver. And I mean, the Steelers have, like, again, the first round has so much talent left at 20 that the Steelers are just going to be like, what the hell do we do? We can go so many avenues, but I do think they go wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. at 20.
It's like we're so close, and then it's like they flip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is that who you got?
At number 21, I have the Miami Dolphins on the clock here, and I think they're going to draft Zerzan Johnny Newton, defensive tackle out of Illinois. We talked about him earlier today. He was compared to some really great players in the NFL, and the Dolphins lost Christian Wilkins in free agency. This is a great spot for the Dolphins because Newton has a high floor. He's a polished player. He's immediately going to be a disruptive presence for the Dolphins. And we know that they had one of their players go down late. I believe it was in December, week 15. Phillips went down, and he's not supposed to be ready until past the halfway mark of the season next year. So not only does this pick make sense because they have lost players this offseason, but it makes sense when you consider that there are certain players that aren't even going to be available till the halfway point in the season. The Dolphins do have this need, and I think this is going to be a cost-controlled contract at the position, and it's a long-term draft strategy here.
Okay. I'll accept that, but I think Miami's going with the splash play and going Jackson Powers Johnson offensive line over Zerzan Newton. And I loved everything that Jake had said earlier about Zerzan Newton, because again, this is something that I take pride in because he's a University of Illinois guy. So when they come in and they do really well, it's awesome. It's awesome to see them. But I think the Dolphins are going Jackson Powers Johnson because they need that center. They need that guy at the center position, and Jackson Powers Johnson is going to deliver that. So I got him going 21 to the Dolphins.
Not going to happen, dude. There's absolutely no way.
Fuck you. Fuck what you believe.
In the click you claim. Okay. At number 22, the Philadelphia Eagles are on the clock, and they are going to draft Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. There might be remember, Lane Johnson sized hole to fill sooner rather than later, and Howie Roseman loves to attack the lines in the first round. Mims has a sky-high ceiling, and he's going to have the chance to be brought along behind Johnson and under offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland. Now, also, they lost their center in Jason Kelsey. I think in order for Philly to avoid some kind of serious regression in a year, coming off of a year where they didn't get the most out of Jalen Hurts, I think they really want to try to avoid any disruptions on the offense or defensive line side of the ball. And after the talent that's walked this offseason, you just have to grab the best offensive tackle in the draft if you're the Eagles.
Okay, I like that. I'm actually going Cooper DeJean here for the Eagles. I think Bradbury for the Eagles has been terrible. He was getting beat by rookies. He was getting beat by, longtime veterans last year for the Eagles. So I think they're going to go Cooper DeJean here. Terry Arnold, Quinion Mitchell in my draft are already taken. They're going with the next best up, and that is Cooper DeJean at cornerback 22 for the Eagles.
Definitely not. There's no way in hell. I'm kidding.
How fucking dare you even think that?
Well, at number 23, the Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock after swapping 2 picks to move back with the Vikings. And guess what? Jared Verse is finally off the board here at 23. And when you really look at the Chargers and what they've accomplished by being okay with moving back, it's pretty incredible. The Chargers come away with a great 2 players. And it's kind of similar to what you remember maybe about what the Texans did last year. What the Bears are doing this year, right? They've already scored the best offensive lineman, arguably, in the draft. And then they turn around and grab another player that goes with Harbaugh's style, winning in the trenches. This is Jared Verse, who we had college football expert Jake on today talking about Jared Verse. And you look at the ability to solidify their future at defensive end in the long term. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are still on the roster, but Mack isn't going to be around that much longer, and the Chargers need insurance in case Bosa's injury history is going to continue. These are definitely things Harbaugh's thinking about. Jared Verse should never have fallen this far down the board. Harbaugh makes a great decision to swap with the Vikings, and they land 2 A+ players in the first round, and the Chargers are on their way to the rebuild.
Yeah, I'm also going edge here, but I'm going Leatu Latu, which to me, Leatu Latu just sounds like a guy that should be on the Chargers. He absolutely sounds like a guy that should be on the Chargers. Leatu Latu. Again, they go offensive line at 11. Then they go defensive line. Like you said, just reiterating what you're saying, winning in the trenches is going to be huge for the Chargers, and that's why they go offensive line, defensive edge, Leatu Latu at 23.
Solid pick.
I know.
And do you think he's the best edge in this year's class?
I don't know. I think Dallas Turner and Verse are up there. I keep hearing so much about them versus Leatu Latu and the injuries that he sustained, where some people were saying that he was basically retired 2 years ago because of injuries. So I don't think he's up there. I think the talent, what he showed last year in college, is going to be it is great enough to be picked in the first round, but I don't think he's the best.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we are getting towards the last couple picks here. In the 24th overall pick, the San Franciscos are on the clock, and they have this pick via the Cowboys, and the 49ers select Talise Fuga, offensive tackle. The 49ers shoot up the board here to grab a right tackle or a right guard who can start right away. And that's exactly what they get out of Talise Fuga out of Oregon State, a lineman who's at or near the top of quite a few big boards that I've looked at. There are legitimate questions whether Fuga can stay out at tackle. Some people like him at guard better, but this type of offense would translate well from what Fuga did in Oregon State and what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are going to want in their San Francisco offense. So I think Fuga will add thump immediately to the 49ers run game. And whether it's inside or out, this is a player that the 49ers are going to want to grab here at 24.
So are you calling the trade here with the Cowboys and the 49ers?
With the Cowboys.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said you had them going who again? Sorry. Oh, Talise Fuga.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I was just making sure I wasn't fucked up on the order. So for the Cowboys, I still got them at 24. They're going offensive line. They're going Jerzon Newton out of Illinois. I think I had them with the same pick.
So they're going defense.
Oh, he's a defensive guy, right? Sorry, yeah, they're going defense. Sorry, I had the wrong thing on here. My bad. So they're going defense here with Jerzon Newton. I like him paired up with Micah Parsons here and just building up on that defense for the Cowboys. It seems like just a great move. They probably do need to get offensive weapons, and really what their offseason has not been great for Cowboys fans, at least from what we've all seen. But to just continue to shore up that defense after getting absolutely embarrassed by the Packers in that divisional round, why not bring in another younger guy with a defensive player of the year candidate in Micah Parsons and really everybody else on that defense? So keep stacking up that defense. I think the Cowboys are going to have enough throughout this draft to, shore up their offensive weapons. But I'm going Jerzon Newton, Cowboys.
Love that. I think that would be an immediate upgrade when you consider all the double teaming that they've done on Micah Parsons and losing Randy Gregory before the beginning of last season. This is that move makes a lot of sense to me. At number 25, the Green Bay Packers are. Can you hand me that cheese? Just throw it to me.
Oh no! Oh no! Boo! Boo! Boo!
You gotta love it.
Boo!
With the 25th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Kingsley Suamataia, offensive tackle, BYU.
Wow.
And you might be thinking that the Green Bay Packers are going to make a splash move here and get one of the receivers available. It could be Ladd McConley. Some people are liking the speed of the guy out of Texas. I'm blanking on his name.
Xavier
Worthy, who broke the record. But don't forget that Green Bay doesn't draft receivers to help out their quarterbacks. Once quarterbacks have proven that they can succeed with the bare minimum, the front office goes out of their way to make sure that's all they get. And I think Jordan Love did enough last year where wide receiver doesn't feel like an immediate need. And what they're going to do here is they're going to upgrade their offensive tackle. Sometimes it's annoying when they don't make that move for Odell Beckham Jr., but other times when they're in the playoffs or almost to an NFC championship game, you are thankful for the way they've been drafting. And I think at this point in the draft, they'll probably be taking an upside swing. And this just works in this scenario for them to pull one of the best offensive tackles.
Okay. I like that. I'm also going offensive line. Troy Fautanu has fallen all the way to 25 for the Packers. They just lost Bakhtiari, either to retirement or to just plain injury-ridden guy. So they need to upgrade that offensive line. And like you said, their Hall of Fame wide receivers don't come until round 4. So Packers fans, don't worry, you guys are going to be fine. You're going to shore up that offensive line for Jordan Love, and you guys are going to be very, very thankful for it when either of these guys turn out to be just a solid offensive lineman for you guys for 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, that would be the ideal scenario. If for anybody that's thinking, I don't want an offensive lineman drafted in the first round, if I could guarantee you that this guy is going to be on your team for the next 15 years, which offensive linemen, I know Bill said that he haven't had a lot of luck with the Giants in drafting them, but I think for the most part, like, there's certain guys that it's like what you see is what you get. Quarterback's not like that. You can be drafted at like number 1 overall and not pan out, or number 2 overall, like Zach Wilson. But with offensive line, I think it stays pretty true there's not as many wild cards. It's like you can either lift 500 pounds 35 times or you can't. You either can, help in pass protection or you just kind of know what you're getting. So like, instead of being disappointed, just be like, wow, this guy for the next 15 years we never have to wonder about left tackle. And that is an amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's so nice.
That's how I feel about Surtain at corner. It's like, just set it and forget it. And that's really why an offensive tackle is not the worst thing here. You don't want to be on that revolving door bringing in Graham Glasgow and all these other guys that are, supposed to pan out that never do. If you can get one, grab one.
And especially at 25.
Especially at 25.
Yeah.
And at 26, I think Tampa Bay is going to do just that, but not at offensive line. But they're going to secure one of the sides of the ball like Patrick Surtain did.
Oh.
And it's going to be corner. Yeah, Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. And I think because Carlton Davis leaves Tampa Bay, I think in comes Wiggins. We talked about him today earlier. He's skinny, but he is twitchy. He's an athlete. He does come from a bloodline of NFL professionals. Like it was the same thing with Surtain. Like his father was in the NFL, and this is Antonio Cromartie's nephew. There's just a way that when they come in, like Von Miller said about Surtain, he said he's the most pro-ready player I've ever seen come out of college. It's like he's been a veteran for the last 10 years. And look at Christian McCaffrey, because his father, Ed McCaffrey, like these players that come in sometimes, it's like they've been doing this for a long time. I think Nate Wiggins is one of those guys. I think he could be a useful player for Todd Bowles' defense and the way he tries to deploy his knuckleball schemes, and he can stay with receivers. And in the league where wide receivers are just keep pouring out, cornerback is going to be increasingly become more valuable.
I like it. And I'm also going cornerback for the Bucs here, except I'm going Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Okay.
Bama. Oh yeah. That's what the Buccaneers fans are going to say every time Kool-Aid McKinstry comes up with an interception. They're going to be like, Kool-Aid. Oh yeah. At number 26, Kool-Aid McKinstry for the Bucs.
I love that. And look at Alabama. I mean, having two starting corners come off the board in the first round is pretty insane. At number 27, okay, and this one is really interesting because I have the Arizona Cardinals jumping up the board. Now, a lot of the drafts that I've looked at have had a lot of different players going off. Tyler Guyton, Patrick Guyton, excuse me, Michael Hall Jr. as well. You've already said a player that I haven't even said yet. And I think that's who they're coming after. Latu edge out of UCLA. And his draft stock is pretty fluid, but I think the Cardinals are happy to land him this late. Like you said, when you have 4 or 5 quarterbacks, there's going to be players at the bottom of this round that normally would go in the top 10. And I don't think anybody is really getting or capitalizing on the value falling down the board, kind of like Arizona picking here at 27. Well, one of the top, if not the top edge in the draft.
Love it. I don't know how Cardinals fans are going to are going to react to this, but I know you went wide receiver edge with Latu, and he falling to 27. Again, the value there is awesome. But to me, the Cardinals are going wide receiver. Adonai Mitchell is going to be picked at 27. The Cardinals are going wide receiver. They believe in their quarterback now. They believe in Kyler Murray. They got a once-in-a-generation type of talent in Marvin Harrison Jr. Why not continue in this very deep wide receiver class and bring in Adonai Mitchell? Because, like we've said, why not continue to shore up on these guys, right? Like, I think we said, why not stack up on one position? One of these guys has to hit, right? Like, they're going to do that with Marvin Harrison Jr., and I think in this case, they're going to do it with Adonai Mitchell at 27.
That's crazy because with the 28th pick, I have Ladd McConkey. Coming out of Georgia. And the Bills need a receiver. Why?
Yes.
Because Gabriel Davis is gone. Stephon Diggs is gone. No surprise that they're going wide receiver here. This guy, I've been looking at a lot of his film. He's a superb route runner. He's a great athlete, and he can win at all three levels. And there's different receivers. Like, you have your receivers that are the safest. Like, I think Roma Dunze is the most safe receiver in this draft class, meaning he can win against man, he can win against press, he can do the intermediate stuff, he can be a deep threat, he can do it all. And then you have your receivers coming in like Malik Neighbors, who maybe at this point in their career, there's a little something there to be desired, but I think he has the higher ceiling ultimately. Ladd McConkey is another receiver that when you watch him on tape, he consistently wins on the outside. And I think when you consider the Bills' current group of pass catchers, I think that they have no option but to go wide receiver here.
Yeah.
And McConkey and Khalil Shakir are going to be the two guys. And then, of course, the tight end that they brought in last year who really flourished, Dalton Kincaid. And he was somebody that we said throughout the whole draft process, this guy's going to be good. And he was. And I think the same thing about the receivers coming off the board here in the first round.
Yeah, I've got the exact same pick. I've got Ladd McConkey going to the Bills here at 28. And you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. They need a wide receiver. Shakur is the only one that was kind of worth the damn last season when you had Gabriel Davis and when you had Stephon Diggs. Obviously, Josh Allen has his safety nets and his tight ends, and the Bills have like nothing to move up higher in this draft to get a Roma Dunze, to get a Malik Neighbors, to get a Marvin Harrison Jr. But again, the value here wide receiver in this draft is amazing. And to get Ladd McConkey, I think at 28 is still a really solid pick, but they do need wide receiver help. And this might be a draft in which they get another wide receiver in the later rounds. But yeah, Ladd McConkey at 28.
Love it. And do you think that that's going to be an upgrade over Gabriel Davis immediately?
Ooh, good question.
Because I believe Davis was taken in the 5th round.
Yeah, it's tough too because Gabriel Davis didn't have too many opportunities last season. It was almost like he broke out in that one playoff game.
Yeah,
against the Kansas City Chiefs last year. Yeah, and then like you said, last year he was bad, but the year prior it was like, oh, Gabriel Davis is a legit number 2, and then he kind of fell off a little bit. So, I mean, if Ladd McConkey can put together 2 very strong seasons, he's already outplayed Gabe Davis in that offense.
Yeah, I think he will come in and be making an immediate impact because Josh Allen's that good too.
Yeah, true.
Okay, at number 29, I know this is going to come as a bit of a surprise, but the Detroit Lions are going to draft grit at position, defensive line. Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State comes off the board. It isn't the biggest immediate need for the Lions, but like I said, when you consider their philosophy and their identity, this is just a guy that's going to come in and make a lot of sense. So the Lions did sign DJ Reader, and they also have Aleem McNeil. But Hall has a different kind of juice that the Lions need, and a lot of that is that he ran a 4.75 at 299 pounds. So that offers significant pass rush upside as a defensive tackle. I think Detroit is going to not be able to look away from the grit, speed, and size of Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State.
Okay. You're going defensive line. Love it. I'm going to go with an immediate need. I'm going to go with Nate Wiggins at cornerback here for the Lions. They're, again, I had them, I believe Nate Wiggins last mock draft as well, because who was their cornerback again that went to jail recently and was basically released from the team? Sutton? Something like that?
Cam Sutton.
Cam Sutton, right? Cam Sutton was the one. Yeah, he was the one that got a felony charge and was released by the Lions after that. So there is an immediate need there, cornerback. And I think with Nate Wiggins here at 2029, I think it fills the need. Day one starter, in my opinion, one of the top 5 cornerbacks I have, obviously, in this draft. So Nate Wiggins to the Lions at 29.
Yeah, that would make the Lions much better immediately if Nate Wiggins happens to fall that far. At number 30, and look, I'm not even laughing about it because there's going to be a player that we're going to be like, how the hell did that person?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'll just real quick. We're not doing past the first round, but my second round mock draft, the first pick in it is Chop Robinson. That just tells you how much these players are falling down the board.
Second rounder's worth a lot.
Yeah. Second rounder's worth a ton this year. So at number 30, I have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. The Ravens need reinforcements on the offensive line. Guyton is a good athlete who is an easy mover in space, but still needs to work on refining his game. But we know that Harbaugh is really good at taking players at this level with their raw talent and molding them into really good starting tackles. I think at this point in the draft, finding a quality starting tackle is really hard to find, and I don't think they're going to be able to pass up on it. So I think this is going to be a good thing for Lamar Jackson, and it's like, what do you give somebody that has it all? And the Ravens right now have a very talented roster. So what do you give? You give them the best offensive tackle available, because Lamar Jackson in that AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, that offensive line did not hold up, if you remember.
Yeah. 100%. And I'm also going offensive line here. I'm going, though, with a guy out of Arizona, Jordan Morgan, offensive lineman, I think was overall 7th or 5th, actually, in combine offensive tackle rankings. So Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, I think he's going to go at 30 here to the Ravens. And like you said, the offensive line needs mad work for the Ravens. If what's his name? Lamar Jackson is going to be, getting to that next level. He just won MVP, but the next level for him is getting to the Super Bowl, and he needs that offensive line to be much, much better. So Jordan Morgan at number 30 for the Ravens.
Makes sense. We both go an offensive tackle there. At number 31, I have the Dallas Cowboys on the clock because they traded back via 49ers, and I have them selecting Jackson Power Johnson, center out of Oregon. After trading back, Dallas has the opportunity to grab a talented player at the biggest position of need. The Cowboys need a new center, and Powers Johnson could create an ass-cooking duo with Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith. I think the Cowboys need to get some of their identity back with the way that they operate on that offensive line. They need to operate in a more tough way. And I think this is the obvious pick here. They need a center. They traded back. And why? Because they know that they could get a quality center at 31, and they probably were going to make this draft pick regardless. So why not move back?
I like it. Cowboys definitely going offensive line there. For the 49ers, I did not have them trade. I've got them going Troy Franklin, wide receiver. There's a lot of talk about Brandon Ayuk right now being unhappy, possibly going to be traded. If they do, obviously they still have Deebo Samuel. They still have George Kittle.
They still have Deebo too.
They did. You're right. And it seems to be kind of like, I don't know if this is going to be a trending thing with the 49ers every offseason. Is just like one of their wide receivers is going to be disgruntled. But bring in another guy, Troy Franklin. If you lose Brandon Ayuk, at least you can get a day one starter in Troy Franklin, a wide receiver. Hopefully he becomes somewhere close to a Brandon Ayuk type of production level. But 49ers going wide receiver here at 31.
All right. At number 32, the Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock, and many people are thinking that they're definitely going wide receiver, especially with everything going on with Rashee Rice. But I think this is one of those talents that they can't look away from. I think the Kansas City Chiefs select Peyton Wilson, linebacker out of NC State. I know that their defense is a big reason they made it to the Super Bowl and that they are pretty loaded with talent, but I do think that they could still upgrade at linebacker. Wilson, we talked about him and his injury concerns earlier this season, but I think at this point in the draft, the investment is definitely okay to make, and it gives the Chiefs another productive linebacker. So, yeah, not what I was really feeling all along, but the higher I kind of see everybody on Peyton Wilson, I think it might be one of those things like the Lions using their late first rounder last year, and they drafted somebody that we didn't know. Who was it? It was it was a linebacker. It was I can't remember. Let me pull it up really quick because it was
the
like
Lions.
Yeah, let me see. 2022 first round selection. Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell was a guy that everyone was like looking back at their draft sheet, like, where the hell is Jack Campbell? Oh,
yeah.
We didn't have him that high. But sometimes the scouts, and you pay attention to it, but there's always going to be a couple of picks that they're just totally wrong about. And they tend to happen at the late side of the first round. So I had closing it out with a move that surprises everybody.
I've got them closing it out with a move that's not surprising anybody. They're going wide receiver. I think they're definitely going wide receiver, especially with what's going on with Rashee Rice. I think we talked about it last week or a couple of weeks ago or so. I got them going Keon Coleman, though. I think, let's see, last draft I had them going Xavier Worthy. I don't think Xavier Worthy is going to be worthy of the 32nd overall pick. I think they're going Keon Coleman, wide receiver here for the Kansas City Chiefs. I do like that linebacker pick, though. I do like that.
Yeah, just a little wild card splash in there.
Yeah.
I could see them also going offensive tackle, like Patrick Paul out of Houston is one that people have, circled, and maybe that would be good because Patrick Mahomes, his like pressure rate is really high, but his time to throw is also really high, so it's hard to gauge like how much of that is him and how much of that's the line. But Patrick Paul would definitely address Mahomes' blind side for years to come. So I could see them going offensive tackle as well, but I'm going to stick with my linebacker.
Like it. I love it. And here to the right side of your screen, everybody, is 1 through 32 mock draft 2.0 and the final mock draft that we're going to do here at the Only Football Podcast for the first round. Thursday is the draft, everybody, and it's going to be one of the most exciting drafts, at least I think for both of us. I would say I think for both of all time.
Denver's moving up to 3 to select Jaden Daniels.
See, there we go. Kyle's saying it right now. So it's going to be an exciting one.
Now we're going to look back and be like, remember when we thought we had to sell Zach Wilson? Wouldn't that be crazy? The guy that I'm like crazy about, we move up and get Jaden Daniels. Like, oh my God, that would be a win-win. You and I would be getting along.
Oh my God,
so well. But if not, I'll be bitter and angry. And
how annoying would we be though throughout this entire next season? Just be like Jaden Daniels, Caleb. Oh yeah, we're cool. We got a quarterback.
Or being like, oh, Caleb went 25 for 35 and Jaden Daniels went 28 for 33. Are you ready to admit Jaden Daniels is better? It's like,
bust.
Did you win?
Look, that doesn't matter. Okay.
Talk about W's and L's right now.
I don't need this. I don't need this negativity right now.
Negativity. I don't need it.
But guys, please tune in because we're going to be streaming that entire first round of the NFL draft on Thursday. And like I said, it's going to be exciting. The Bears have 2 picks in that first round. Denver Broncos, like Kyle said, who knows what they're going to do? They're picking at 12 for now. We'll see if there's any sort of movement, and it's going to just be exciting to see if there is any other movement in that draft. But Kyle, is it time? I think is it time? I think it's time for the Chives with Kyle. Oh.
I love that, dude. It just puts you in the mood, doesn't it?
Oh, all the time.
All right. Well, here we go. All right.
Here we go.
I will say, though, a lot of people are starting to say that Bo Nix is definitely going to be drafted by the Broncos. That's not what I was going to say. Chiefs head coach Andy Reid, some would argue at this point is the best head coach in the league, is now the highest paid head coach in the NFL. So Kansas City keeping the Super Bowl winning band together for the long haul. People were talking about retirement. Do you remember this? They were like, is Andy Reid going to retire? And he was like, who said I was going to retire? And they were like, well, we didn't know because your deal expired. And Andy Reid at an older age, winning 2 Super Bowls in a row, it was like maybe he does want to ride off into the sunset. But I think he understands Mahomes has a ton of football left in him. Mm-hmm. And he would be an idiot to leave now because what if Mahomes wins the Super Bowl with the next coach? Yeah. Wouldn't that tarnish his legacy a little bit? I'm sure that would keep me up a little bit at night when you're starting to be considered one of the great all-time head coaches. Yep. This is what Andy Reid said. His new deal first, though, is through 2029, and it makes him the highest paid coach in the NFL. Tom Pelissero reported that. I'm not sure how they know that because they never even revealed how much money Sean Payton's making per year. But, of course, I'm going to want to compete with everything of Kansas City. This is what Andy Reid said. I'm incredibly grateful to the chairman and CEO, Clark Hunt, and the entire Hunt family for giving me the opportunity to lead this historic franchise. And yeah, they have been a historic franchise. And when you really think about it, Andy Reid's been there since Alex Smith days. He's been there for a decade now.
Yeah.
Over the last 11 years, Tammy and I have enjoyed calling Kansas City our home. And keep in mind, too, sorry, as I read this, I'm just like, Andy Reid, since he came to Kansas City, has really turned that franchise around because even when they had Alex Smith, they were doing much better than the year before. Like, all Andy Reid has done is win in Kansas City. So he said this community embraced us. We've watched our family grow, including having 12 grandkids during my time here. On the field, there's been so many people that have contributed to our success in Super Bowls. I'm grateful for the players and the coaches and the staff that have invested their time into the process. I'd also like to thank my agent. Chiefs Kingdom is a special place, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to be here. Together since 2017, the trio has helped shape the Chiefs into a 3-time Super Bowl winner during that span. And in addition to the Lombardi trophies in the Chiefs trophy case, Reid and the Veach-Donovan combination has overseen Kansas City to go 134 in the regular season and postseason combined since joining together, winning 7 straight AFC West Division titles.
I knew that one hurt. Dude.
4 AFC Championship wins and an unbelievable 6 straight AFC title game appearances.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. Sorry.
You know, the accolades and the achievements don't even need to be said. I mean, they really put the Chiefs in achievement. Sorry, that was a little cheapy. Didn't chief. Yeah. Anyway, this is such horse shit that Andy Reid's going to be around for the next 10 years, but I wouldn't have it any other way. What did you think about it?
I think it makes sense for the Kansas City organization. It just makes sense. You bring on a guy who won 3 Super Bowls, a guy who, in terms of the GM, who created this entire thing. This is what winning organizations do, man. They continue to keep the guys who got you here in charge, unless they do something extremely stupid and massively upsetting. And they haven't done any of that. I mean, some of the biggest controversies you see coming out of Kansas City are Patrick Mahomes' wife and his brother, and how much times they show Taylor Swift. And they got 3 Super Bowls out of that. That to me is an amazing organization, and it sucks to see it. But I go back to what Ryan Pohl said in an interview with Pat McAfee is like, nobody saw the first couple years of hard work and shit that we had to do for Kansas City to get where they're at now. And if you do that for the first couple years, 2-3 years or whatever, as an organization, or some of the guys that are in there first, to basically create a team that is the Kansas City Chiefs now. I mean, it's just, that's how you're supposed to do it. You have faith in the guys, you bring a culture, and you continue to keep that culture throughout. And again, it just makes sense. This shouldn't be anything that people are going to be like, what? No way. No, it makes sense. This is a great organization, and this is what great organizations should do in the future.
Totally agree. And I know you started a comment here before we sign off. Bill was wondering about maybe later, what's your PC setup? So mine, I have a mic that connects to an audio interface that connects to my computer, and my computer is an iMac, so it has a camera built into it.
A little headset for work, Teams meetings, and I just got a webcam. I think that should work, Bill, the headset, because if it's a USB, I mean, that's how my mic is connected to my computer. Kyle's got a different setup, obviously, what he just said with the audio interface, but mine works through USB, and I got a webcam as well. So that should work just fine.
Yeah, if you have any questions about it, we can always set up a FaceTime or something if you message me on Twitter, but hopefully that answers that question. And if you guys want to get a hold of me on Twitter, you can follow me at X at NFL with Kyle. And you can follow my co-host, my partner. Really, the only way to describe this person is my everything at
my partner in life. You can follow me at, wait, where is it? Sorry. No, we got to have the banners up. We got to have the brand up. Hold on. Everybody shut up. You
Everybody
can follow me
focus.
and Rick down there on X, but you can follow my YouTube, my personal YouTube at I'm Rick. And Kyle, where can they follow you on YouTube?
Titty twister through the camera. You can follow me at NFL with Kyle, and on my YouTube channel, you can follow me at Kyle Kitzman, spelt there on the bottom left. I know we had some people in here today, so hopefully you guys were enjoying this. I know you guys been hanging out this whole time. Last 2 episodes have been a little bit longer, but we're gearing up for the most important week of our lives. No, not your son being born, not your wedding. It's going to be drafting Caleb Williams in the first round.
You're goddamn right.
Don't let Natalie hear you say that.
No, oh God, I hope not. Babe, I love you. I love you.
There you go. Make it better. But yeah, man, I'm excited. We're going to be bringing, I will say for us, never before content to the NFL draft. And that's going to be a lot of fun just in 2 days.
Yeah.
And our goal is to make the production value of that draft similar to if you were watching that in any professional environment, where we'll break down each player, the draft, the fit, the grade, all of that. So definitely, if you got nowhere to watch the draft, watch it with us, because who else to watch it with than a Bears fan?
Oh yeah, we got 2 picks, baby. 2 picks, baby.
2 picks in top
like
10.
Kyle said, like Kyle said, it's going to be an awesome draft here, an awesome draft stream here with us at the Only Football Podcast. Please make sure to tune in, to hit a like on this video before you leave. Would also be greatly appreciated. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell people you don't know on the street. What'd you say?
Coworkers,
road
rage,
random people you see, drug dealers, prostitute. It doesn't matter who you tell. Have them, tune in, because we need and we would love more prostitutes
on this channel.
Please make sure to let everybody know. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bill, Ginger, Crafty, Nick, everybody who joined us through Twitter, through Twitch, and through YouTube. Thank you guys so much for being here. An exciting stream is coming on Thursday, and we will see you guys on that day. Kyle,
hold on 1 second.
1 second. Kyle's got something.
I got some
booty shorts.
Breaking news.
He's got booty shorts to show.
Breaking news. Let me just go ahead and send this to me really quick. Hold on.
Someone got traded. What are we doing?
Here we go.
Oh my God.
We have the Broncos' new uniforms.
What is that? Was that a penis?
That was
a penis.
no, that was not. Oh, here.
That was a penis. Broncos new uniforms suck.
Now, I didn't know what Woody was working on over there, and he has been typing away, and all he wanted to do was tell you guys that the Broncos uniforms still suck.
Kyle's dog could not agree more than Kyle. He's probably been a longer fan of the Broncos than Kyle.
Yeah, he turns 1 next year, so.
Oh yeah, so that's at least 30 years being a fan of the Broncos, in dog years, of course.
In dog years.
All right, again, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Cannot wait for Thursday. An exciting stream is coming to you guys on Thursday. Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.
See ya.